Thank you. The oath of office for election for the board members will be done by Judge Hunter, and I will now turn it over to him. Let's welcome him as he comes.
All right, if our two new members want to come up.
One at a time?
Mm-hmm.
Can we do one at a time?
Sure, that's fine.
And then her family will be able to come in and have her join. Can Jo- please, thank you.
Okay.
We'll let Joyce do hers first, if that's okay.
That's fine.
And her family come in, and then we'll do yours. That's okay.
Okay, y'all's pleasure.
I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Passing my journey.
They can stand around there and you come up to the podium. As long as they can see you.
All right.
Want to turn it around just a little bit so she can be facing them maybe, and then, if that's okay. So her folks can see her. Yeah. Is that okay?
Coming next. Okay.
Can Sims people wait just 1 second before you guys come in? And we're gonna do y'all next. All of Miss Sims.
You'll place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. And repeat after me. I,
I,
Joyce Long,
Joyce Long,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I,
I,
Joyce Long,
Joyce Long,
do further solemnly and sincerely swear
do further solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I,
I,
Joyce Long,
Joyce Long,
do further swear
do further swear
that I will well and truly execute the duties
that I will well and truly execute the duties
of the office of a member of the Board of Education of Warren County, North Carolina,
of the office of a member of the Board of Education of Warren County, North Carolina,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Long.
I don't know if you know how large my family is.
And welcome to the team.
All right.
Now we'll bring Jennifer's family in.
It's a mouthful. Well, it's in front of
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I,
I,
Jennifer Sims,
Jennifer Sims,
do further solemnly and sincerely swear
do further solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state,
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of the said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I,
I,
Jennifer Sims,
Jennifer Sims,
do further swear that I will well and truly execute
do further swear that I will well and truly execute
the duties of the office of a member of the Board of Education of Warren County, North Carolina,
the duties of the office of a member of the Board of Education of Warren County, North Carolina,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Sims. We welcome you to the team. Let's give it up again for Ms. Sims.
Because it is an alumni of Warren County High School. Our judge is an alumni of Warren County High School.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, family. I would like to recognize the fact that I really appreciate Judge Hunter, who came to actually provide the oath for us. Judge Hunter was actually a graduate from Warren County High School and now back in the district. So we truly appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. Let's thank him again. I know it. We missed everybody. And
We're over 3.
yeah. So and I would like to just say again officially to Ms. Jennifer Sims and to Ms. Joyce Long, welcome. We welcome you guys to this great team. So let's give it up for them again. I'm excited. I'm excited. Now I will turn it over to our Attorney May for the nominations.
All right. Cyndi Lauper's Greatest Hits or something like that.
Huh? I'm sorry.
So I feel like I should sing something with the microphone. So at this time, board members, we will open the floor up for nominations for the position of board chair.
I nominate Ebony Tally Brame for board chair.
Okay. So Ms. Ebony Tally Brame has been nominated for the position of board chair. Are there any other nominations? Okay, can I get a motion to close nominations, please?
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
So you make the motion.
I make the motion. I'm sorry.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to close nominations. The nominations are thereby closed. At this time, I will call for a vote to approve Ebony Tally Brame for the position of board chair.
Will it come up here, Debbie, or we need to vote by hand?
To close nominations. I don't know how Al did it. There's several different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
And so that's how.
For some reason, I'm not.
So motion has, I'm sorry.
So there was a motion to close nominations. A second should be
To
at that
vote.
point. So, and then we vote to approve the position, or at least
I have to
the
raise my hand.
nomination. So how do you want it done, Debbie? Let me ask you that.
I have to put somebody in that's making a motion and a second for the vote to come up.
Okay. And so you have to have a motion and a second to approve Ebony as board chair?
Yes, so vote will come up.
Okay, all right, so somebody moved to approve Ebony as board chair.
So again, I move that we approve Ebony as board chair.
Second.
Says my network is disabled. Am I doing?
I don't think so.
No, it's not coming up. You understand anything?
No,
Yours is not even showing.
I know.
mine isn't either. I just have.
You want us to vote by?
Are you asking us to do it manually? Joyce, Ms. Long? She's asking to do it manually.
So if we are,
If you're in favor, you can or you can't.
so is that what you want us to do, Debbie? I'm confused.
Yes,
Okay.
because they're all new tools for some reason.
Okay.
All right, so it's unanimous?
No, I didn't see Joyce, so I don't know if Joyce, you excused or are you in favor or not? We can't vote on the, system.
I didn't vote on it.
So it's, okay.
Abstain?
I guess so, yes.
Or is it no or abstain? I don't know.
So that, I guess that would be a no then. Right. So Joyce Long would be a no.
No.
She's saying is it no or abstain?
So Joyce, the difference would be to abstain would mean you don't want to vote, to say no, or you can abstain or vote no. So it's up to
I
you.
voted no. Okay, got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, at this point in time, we will open the floor for nominations for board vice chair.
I would like to make a nomination for vice chair, if I
Yes,
could.
ma'am.
I would like to nominate Victoria Lehman for vice chair.
That's second.
Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? If not, I'll ask for a motion to close nominations and approve Victoria Lehman as vice chair.
I make a motion to close
Nominations.
nomination and, second,
And approve
and approve,
Victoria as vice chair.
and approve, Victoria's vice chair.
Can I have a second, please? All right. Motion's been made, properly seconded. May we vote?
Again, we're voting, so if you all in favor, could you raise your hand? If you're not, you can abstain.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
My PSB is completely gone away. Connection is timed out.
So is that it, Robbie?
Yes, ma'am? That's
Okay,
it.
so then does that mean, I can continue the meeting? or-
You may, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so thank you, Robbie, for that. I appreciate that. And Mr. Connor, can you go ahead and make the transition with Linda and, Victoria, I believe?
Did you touch your?
No, did you touch it? Yeah.
Connor, can you come and help us, cause it's not even letting her log out, go all the way out.
Mine's frozen.
She's frozen.
Maybe it has the COVID.
Huh?
Maybe it has the COVID.
Maybe.
Not funny, you don't.
She said COVID.
Oh, I'm just saying.
You're gonna.
Okay, but totally, I was trying to just log out. It wouldn't let me do that.
Mine is not working either, so.
It's been a couple months since we've been
Since-
using
yeah.
these.
That's what I think it is. Well,
Just be safe inside, that's all it is.
Ms. Sims, yours is working okay, right?
Other than the vote thing, I think
Okay.
it's moving.
I can follow along.
Yeah, and if for time reasons, we may can, have them follow along if you guys are okay with it from the, big screen, and we can vote by hand if you guys are okay.
I'm all
Ms.
right.
Long, are you okay with that? Linda, you okay with that?
Mhm.
Victoria,
Yes, I am.
you okay? So we can do that. If you can't, Connor, it's fine.
Do you want the
Would it help just
PowerPoint
to
projected
take it
off the
and
big
run it?
screen like before?
We can use,
Or off of that one? Okay.
off of the big,
Because sometimes you all used to have it on the
Yeah.
big screen.
if we
Just-
can do it from the, can we do it from the big screen?
We need to find from Mr. Connor, only just because some of the information might be a little small for
Small,
people to
I
see
know.
on that small
Yeah.
one.
That's true.
That's 3 computers right in a row.
Yeah, that's odd, isn't it?
If it doesn't connect, is it possible to pull the big screen down so they can see off the PowerPoint?
Would that be fine?
Yeah, we could, well, it's somewhere over time, the way they can.
No, I'm talking about the big one.
Like the big one?
Yeah,
Can we do that?
because if they can't see it on their computer, it may be, they may not be able to see it on the small one.
I could grab them on the laptop. Might have to wire.
Nothing from none of y'all.
I'm fine to move forward. I think we need to keep get some momentum going.
I think we can move forward, don't you?
I'm fine to move
So
forward.
I think every board member said that they were okay, and if need be, what we can do is provide you guys with the documentation. If you guys have questions, the new board members, we can ensure that before you vote on something, you are knowledgeable about what you're voting on before we do that, if that's okay. So we can move forward, okay? With that being said, can you move forward, Debbie? You can't either. Okay, so it did not show up on my screen, that's why I was asking.
Oh, okay.
But I can sync and
Can you see this from where you are?
I can,
Okay.
I can. So I can, all right. So I call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Motion has been made and properly second that we approve the consent agenda. May we vote, please, by raising our hands as aye. All in favor? Thank you. right, so Debbie, if I'm looking at that correctly, because I am farsighted, is that the minutes for June 9th?
This is approval of the agenda for this meeting.
Okay. Gotcha. I now call for a motion to approve the July 14th, 2020 regular board meeting.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the July 14th, 2020 regular board meeting agenda.
I second.
Okay, motion has been made and properly seconded by Ms. Sims. May we vote, please, by raising our hand? Aye. All in favor? Thank you.
Public comments.
All right, I now call, okay, public comments. Do I have any, Debbie?
Last sheet.
Okay.
Do you have any for me that was?
You wanna read this one?
You can do that, if you want to.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you, Attorney Mays. I do have a public comment, and this public comment came from D. Barnes, and it reads as following. Children returning to Vaughn Elementary 2021. I have been trying to find online the plans for students to return to school, but information seems very vague. I see the virtual options and return back to school, but if students return, what safety measures are in place, such as class size, distancing, etc.? The classrooms are not that big. If you opt for a virtual class and say in the fall the COVID-19 numbers are declining, would you have the option to place your child back into the classroom settings? If you opt for virtual class, but your internet is not the best, how does that work? There are so many unanswered questions, and any information could you provide would greatly be appreciated to help try to make an informed decision. Thank you. Again, that came from D. Barnes. Thank you, Ms. Barnes, for sharing, and we will follow back up with you.
Okay, we have two individuals who asked to address the board in person. There's a Lorenzo Ball. Mr. Ball, you will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Elect their name.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
I have several questions regarding school opening back up as well. How do you all safely get the kids back in the classroom? The next question is, as far as buses, how do you guys get the kids safely to and from school? Parents have to work, so how do they get back and forth from school? Third question, there's a lot of areas in Warren County that are not internet capable. So how do those places receive internet, or how do they get the virtual training? The next question, I know it's a lot, I'm rambling. The next question is, as far as learning software, do they get books? I know I've been asking for books for quite a while, as far as something tangible for the kids to even see at home. I understand, you know, if they're in the classroom, that's fine, because they have the teacher and the board. But when they're at home, they need something tangible for them to go by. And I think books would be a great idea. I don't know where books went anyway. And another question is, how are kids accountable for work that is done at home? Or, because I know last year they did it, it was two things, CWG or CWP or O or something like that, as far as with the early college grades. I know my son, if it was, they stopped taking any grades that were failing, was what they said. And they only added grades that were above passing. So how does them being graded for this work, how does that work? There's a lot of unanswered questions that, you know, we as parents look forward to hearing, especially with school opening up in the next few weeks. I myself don't feel comfortable. If our questions aren't answered, why should we send our kids to a place that, well, we've been socially distancing, but I don't know what other people are doing. I seen on CNN the other day that teachers were spending their last days of summer riding their wheels. You know, I mean, it's that bad. You know, so why do we want to put our kids in danger of going to a place where we have no idea about? And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Long. I think we truly appreciate your questions, and we will, if you want to stick around, we will have our meeting, and going into our meeting, there is going to be information shared that some of your questions should be answered. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
If you could put his information down.
All right, and now we
I can't hear you.
I'll wait.
Anthony Hargrove.
I just wanna make sure he put his information here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Real quickly, Pastor Austin, could you possibly have Mr. Long, I thought you walked out. Mr. Long, could you give us your information so we can
Make sure
contact
that's
you on that sign-in
Make sure
sheet?
it's on the sign-in sheet.
Okay.
Mr. Ball.
Yeah, Mr. Ball, I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay.
That's how I follow up.
I'm sorry.
I just wanna make sure it's on there.
Yes,
Thanks.
and then we'll follow up.
It's trying to do something.
Mr. Harper.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Down here. For me to join
My name is
in
Anthony Hargrove,
to sign
one of
in,
the
I
parents
have
in
to
this
sign in.
Warren County school system. And I guess I want to guys gonna say some of the stuff that Mr. Ball said.
Yes, sir.
I want to speak for some of the parents as well. I know not speak for all the parents, but I know the kids have to go back to school at some point, but is the environment safe for them to come back to? Like I said, I know they got to go, but then we substitute for virtual learning. Is that the best, way to do it? Because like now, how long are they actually engaging in, educational activities, in academic? So I'm just trying to figure out, what's the plan, as far as them coming back to school? Because right now, I don't think it's the safest place for them to, be in. But like I said earlier, I know they have to eventually come back to the school. But if they come back and it's not safe, one kid gets sick, it's gonna go right back to where it was before. And teachers get sick, some people don't even want to come here. Teachers, like, I know, they pretty much put their lives online. And, that's really all I had to say, like, because this is going to be the new normal at some point. We halfway coming to school, halfway not coming to school. So doing a virtual learning. So really my question is, are we just going to do one thing or the other, or are we going to do both? That's pretty much it.
So thank you, Mr. Hargrove. Again, I'll just say to you, if you leave your information, Dr. Young and her team will follow up. And, if you care to stay for this meeting, we have an overflow room over in the library.
Okay.
And you guys can listen in. And I think there's some great data that's going to be shared that will be able to answer a lot of those questions. So I appreciate you coming.
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove.
Thank you. Is that it? Thank you, Robert. All right, we truly appreciate all of those comments, and I think some of us have some of those same questions, and we do have answers to most of them, so or recommendations. We're gonna now, I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Young and we'll do our informational.
So good evening.
Good
On
evening.
the 7.1, the board policy, I know for the board meeting specially called, there were some things that Ms. Talleyrand and Ms. Byrd wanted to talk to the board about.
Yes, so this was board policy 2300, board meetings, special call meetings, and there's the policy. Linda, did you bring that policy with you? Because I forgot it.
Yeah, I believe I do have it.
But while you find it, I want to just talk a little bit about, basically, what the policy is saying is that there are meetings that we can have as board members, like special call meetings, and there's something, emergency meetings and things like that, that we could possibly have, correct, Linda?
Yes,
And so.
workshops.
And workshops and things like that. And I think the purpose of us having the discussion is, because we have such challenging and unprecedented times, I think it's a good opportunity for us to utilize what our policy says and have some of those meetings. It could be virtual. We don't have to come in and, be in the same space necessarily, or we can. But I think it's a good opportunity for us specifically because you, Ms. Long and Ms. Sims, you guys are new board members, and we want to make sure that we have as many meetings as possible so that we can bring you guys into what the policy says, what our rights are, and provide as much knowledge as we possibly can. I think when we came in, it was a little difficult, and we don't want that same transition for you too. We want it to be as smooth as possible. I don't know if you found the policy, but I wanted to
have
read.
it.
You
I
got
have it up.
Read it for
I'd
me.
be happy to. So it's policy code 2300 board meetings. A is the type of meetings is just the regular. There, B is regular meetings, which we're having right now. C is emergency meetings.
That's right.
D is specially called meetings, which I think is what you're referencing. Specially called meetings generally between regular meetings of the board, work sessions, retreats, and public hearings are specific types of called meetings. Then retreats and workshops. And that number 3 then is public forum and hearings, and it says the chairperson shall schedule with the approval of the board a fall and spring public forum as needed and an educational summit each year to encourage communication and dialogue between the community and the school system.
Thank you.
And if I could say one more
Yep.
thing, from the UNC School of Government, just so people understand that the open meeting laws allow members of the public to attend local government board meetings, but there's nothing in the open meeting laws that allow members of the public to speak at the meetings. You can have a comment, but you can't speak. So although the law helps bring people together, it doesn't really facilitate discussions between board members and their constituents. Public hearings and the mandatory public comment period provide forums for the public to speak to the board. A public hearing provides citizens the opportunity to provide input before the board takes action on a particular matter. Public comment periods, in contrast, offer a broader forum and are not restricted to any particular topic. And I think maybe that's what you're referencing, is
Yes.
having the opportunity for us as a board to have a conversation with the public.
Exactly. And I think, Linda, and you can chime in whenever you like, but I would like to just say that we want to take, sometimes knowledge is powerful, and when you know, you do better, right? And so it takes a lot of time for new board members to go through all of these policies. You probably won't ever do that until case-by-case scenario. So, and coming upon, I think Linda brought this to my attention, and so we had a conversation, and I said, well, I wasn't knowledgeable about it. So now that we know, I think we need to take the opportunity so that we can have the public forums, because ideally what we really want to do is, as a board, we want to get as much public comments from the community as we possibly can. You guys know as well as I do, because you guys just won the election, that we have to hear what our community is saying for us to do. And then not only hear it, but we have to put action behind it. You agree?
Yes.
And so with that being said, now that we know what we have in the policy 2300, we will, with your approvals, have public forums, we will have retreats, we will have emergency meetings if need be, and the purpose for it will be specifically to, because the only time we can come together as a body of 5 is in the public. So we need to do more of that, because we can't meet or congregate, you know, as a body of 5, but we surely can call a meeting, and we can discuss business, and we can open it up to the public so we can hear them, like these young men that just came forward that I thought they had valid points. The policy says we can't respond to them in public comment. A lot of people don't know that. But we can listen to their comments, but we can't give an answer back. We have to follow up through our superintendent. And she does a really good job with the follow-up, but the reality is sometimes they question, the community questions, well, why can't we know now? Well, the policy says you have to give people an opportunity to go back and research and find out those things. So that's the purpose. Linda, would you like to say anything else?
Well, I believe you and Victoria said pretty much everything that needed to be said except for one thing.
Okay.
And I think that would be in terms of the public forum. It is very important that, you know, our constituents, the community come out and express how they feel as they did this evening.
That's right.
And I know that there's a great concern regarding school choice.
That's right.
And so we have to have all kinds of input from the community so that we know how we can possibly move forward.
Absolutely. And again, I want to just say thank you, Linda, Ms. Bird, because you did bring it to my attention, and I appreciate you sharing it, because the more we read, if you find something, and new members, you guys have time and you read policy, and if there's something you have questions about, please share it with any of us. And we can bring it and put it on the table, and we can meet about it, and we can make it happen. So thank you. Okay, we'll move right along.
We have Ms. Jennings. And Ms. Jennings is going to be presenting information, item 7.2, the American Indian data. And this is the data that we must present, that the state has stated that we must present to the board. And in addition, Ms. Jennings will be presenting the reading textbook adoption information, which is 7.3.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Hope you're doing well.
So it'll be a little hard because she's
That's fine. How are
looking
you
at the
make
screen, and
comfortable?
then the camera's in the back.
However she wants to be comfortable.
Okay. The first document, if we could pull up report 1.1, Mr. Connor. This report, you have a report from the State Advisory Council on Indian Education. And the title of that report is 2020 Vision for Culturally Responsive Classrooms Through Tribal Consultation, Our Land, Our Stories, and Our Future. And it's a theme that emphasizes the importance of culturally responsive instruction in all classrooms, and it does reflect the Every Student Succeeds Act as a mandate. Districts are also required to have meaningful ongoing collaborations with American Indian communities, the tribal communities, referencing the resources that are available for our American Indian students. The report also includes educational data for American Indian students, as well as some of their counterparts and their peers. And I know it's not pulled up yet, but you do have access to it. This report allows us to review American Indian data annually so that we are able to recognize existing achievement gaps or to highlight strengths or areas of concern. Also, there is legislature that requires us to summarize and provide this summary student performance data on our American Indian students, and it must be shared on an annual basis. Many of our districts receive Title VI funds for our American Indian students from across the state. Each area that's reported in this document must compare the American Indian performance with that of the 3 of their peer groups, and that's the whites, blacks, and Hispanics. And you will see that in report 2. And just to note that proficiency means that students are performing on grade level, which is level 3. And when you think about level 3, that's just that, on grade level. But when students perform at level 4s and 5s, then that means that they are college and career ready at that time. Now, this document, Report 2, reflects 3-year data. And within this data, there are some trends. However, I'm only going to really focus on this year of the most current data, which is year 2018-2019, and I'm going to be specific about Warren County's data for our American Indian students. During the year of 18-19, we had enrollment of 1,873 students, and 137 of those students were American Indians, mainly from the Halawasa Pony tribe. Our district proficiency rates, if you look at this particular document, district proficiency rates in all of the EOGs that are listed here and the EOCs that are listed are below state rates. Our American Indian students, however, exceeded the district state rates in all EOGs and EOCs test areas. And when you look at the subgroup of our American Indian students, they fell behind the state rate in all reported EOG and EOC subject areas. And that remains true because all the EOCs and EOGs listed here were behind the rates of the state. However, our American Indian students, if you look at the English 2 end of course percentages, we do have those students outperforming their peers, the Hispanic, whites, and blacks. But when you look at all the other EOG areas, could you move back up to the top for me, Ernie? You have our American Indian right there in the middle, and then you have their peers to the right. When you look at our math and reading for grades 3 through 8, our American Indian students did outperform our black subgroup, whereas they did not. They fell behind the whites and Hispanics in both areas. There is insufficient data for our American Indian students for the area of biology and math 1, the 4-year cohort graduation rate, and the dropout rate. And that's because we didn't have the numbers that we needed to report that data at the time. So in order to continue to increase the performance rates for our American Indian students in Warren County, we need to continue to review and analyze data in order to develop culturally sensitive, responsive goals, implement best practices to address academic deficits. We're also going to continue to provide high quality instruction and interventions that will sustain academic growth. We're going to also continue to collaborate with both local and state tribal councils and celebrate the heritage of our American Indian students throughout the year, not just the specified November time of heritage. Are there any questions about this data? Or comments?
Has it been shared with the Halawasa Pony tribe? Is there any kind of input from them or from the, I can't think of the woman who works with the students?
Yes.
What's the feedback, and are they
Patricia.
happy, or like what does this mean to them?
Well, we do collaborate with our Halawasa Pony tribal community, and they do have input on, the community activities that we have and we engage our students in, as well as providing different cultural events throughout the district at schools when we're in school. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I do know that we want to recognize that we have a Moorhead Cane Scholar, that it comes from the Native American Halawasa Pony tribe. So she clearly was a level 5.
Exactly, yes. So we do have many students, many of our American Indian students are performing really well. It's just a matter of continuing that progress and ensuring that they get the academic advancements that they need in order to continue to perform well. Any other comments or questions?
I know this is, I'm sorry, Ms. Jennings, I know this is specifically about American Indian, but just overall, can you give us a snapshot of your opinion as to when you look at this data, what are your thoughts as far as how we can, what direction we can move in as a district? Because, in some areas we don't do that well. And I know you guys have had, I know you were, I think the literacy program and different things that you guys have put in place, but how can you guys help us with this?
Well, we're gonna continue, first of all, to, dissect the data. We
Right.
have to do that. We also need to make sure that we are providing academic interventions for those students on all tiers. And we have to do that not just for American Indian students, but for all of our students, ensuring that they have the resources that they need in order to progress along. And with our literacy project, ensuring that we're following the guidelines within those parameters to ensure that we have the non-negotiables within the classroom. And ensuring that our teachers understand those non-negotiables and we are meeting students where they are. Because every student in the classroom is not on the same level. We have to make sure that we address their deficits just like we would address individual American Indian student deficits.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You need anybody else?
So speaking of resources,
Yes.
Ms. Jennings is going to be talking about the reading textbook adoption that we need to have
Yes.
to make sure that we continue the education of our students. Because we've not had textbooks for over 10 years in our district.
Yeah.
And the goal is that we want to have a reading textbook adoption so that we will have textbooks
great.
in every classroom.
You can't see it, but I am smiling.
Me too.
Okay, as Dr. Young has mentioned, I am moving right into the next phase of trying to ensure that we meet students where they are and provide teachers what they need in order to do that. And in an effort to provide teachers and students with consistent resources across the district, K-5, to ensure that we are developing skilled readers in grades K-12. So we're going to select or recommend a particular adoption, textbook adoption. And before I do that, I do want to introduce you to the team. Here we have on our team members from all schools in the district. We have members from each grade span, each grade level. We wanted to make sure that we had representation from all levels to ensure that every voice was heard in terms of what resources do you need? Is this going to give you what you need in order to provide adequate instruction? So the next slide, there is an adoption list, and on that adoption list, we selected 3 different adoptions to evaluate. One was Benchmark Advanced, which only serviced K-6 students. One was Houghton Mifflin Hardcore, which serviced K-12 students, and if you see there, they had it broken down into reading, K-5, into literature, 6-8, into literature, 9-12. And then Savas, which is formerly known as Pearson. We had My View, K-5, and then My Perspective, 6-12. And when you're thinking about these particular adoptions, they all had wonderful things or components to each adoption. We started this process face-to-face, and then of course the pandemic happened, and then we had to transition virtually. And I have to say and commend the companies as well as our teachers in that transition, because it did take a lot to ensure that we had the virtual presentations. We even had some companies to mail hard copies to our teachers, and then we started the virtual process. They had an opportunity to explore all the resources, virtual as well as hard copies, to ensure that this is the adoption that would work for them. We then had Google Forms to evaluate each adoption. During that adoption, we focused on several different things. This is not all inclusive, but to name just a few, we focused on curriculum alignment, differentiation, and intervention capabilities, because when you're talking about MTSS and those 3 tiers, providing supplemental and intensive interventions, you need to have those capabilities within a resource. The digital components was another key, because when we had to transition to remote learning, you needed to have the adequate resources in order to do that well. Then assessments, we have online and hard copy. We wanted to make sure that each adoption, or whichever adoption we selected, provided you with adequate informational and literary text. Because believe it or not, our students really struggle with informational text, and we wanted to make sure that they had plenty exposure to it. So the recommendation did turn out to be Houghton Mifflin Hardcore with a 6-year adoption. Now we'll say this, it was very close in terms of the final ratings and the final outcomes of those evaluations, because each adoption provided wonderful things. So what it boiled down to was the fact that we wanted something consistent across the district. We wanted something that could easily be transitioned digitally and face-to-face. and that was HMH. Also, with HMH, you would receive hard copies of everything as well as digital copies of everything. We receive student consumable texts and books. On the upper level, there are hardback books, but on the lower level, you have the consumables. They will receive these each year for 6 years. And they also will have books and materials at home to continue to build their home libraries, their book nooks at home. The online student management system on ED provided teachers opportunities to access the resources like anchor charts, graphic organizers that they could easily upload to Google Classrooms. Online level text, not only online, but they receive the hard copy level text as well. And with that, with the online text, students had access to various levels of text. Then you had the writer's notebook, the Rigby library. I do want to highlight just a little bit because Rigby provide levels from A to Z, and in every classroom within the schools, they receive a certain number of the leveled books. For example, 3rd grade receives levels J through Q. However, that's all in the classroom. But every teacher will receive the online library, and for example, if you have a 3rd grader reading on 5th grade level, they have access to those materials so you can advance them. If you have a 4th grader reading on 2nd grade level and they need interventions, you could also provide their leveled materials. And then there's Student Choice Library. In our literacy project that was mentioned, we do, in our mission and philosophy, we state that we want students to have choice, but HMH provides students with choice. And so they're able to select books that they want to read and that mirror them. Some other resources, the read aloud books and novels. Novels on the upper level, regular books on the lower level. However, also in the literacy project, we talk about students need to hear adequate reading. So read alouds provide us with that opportunity. The toolkits, the instructional card kits, and I could go on, but one other thing that I will highlight is the reading growth measure. For our K-8 students, we have iReady, and iReady provides a universal screener which is mandated for MTSS, but it gives our students that diagnostic, it shows them where they are, and then create a pathway for them to work on. For high school, we don't necessarily have what we call a universal screener. However, within HMH, this growth measure provides us with just that. So we're able to assess our high school students to see where they are so that we can better meet their needs in terms of instruction.
That's great. I got a question if I could ask, if that's okay. Will I mess you up by asking this question before we move on?
Yes.
So I guess, I know we use iReady for our like elementary.
And middle.
And middle.
Yes.
Okay, but we don't have that tool, you said, at the high school level.
No.
And this is something that, I guess you said, is it HMH?
HMH stands for
Yeah.
Mifflin Hardcore, it's a mouthful.
But they're gonna bring that tool to the high school?
Yes.
Okay, now, as far as, do they give like reports where if the kid has been tested and over a period of time, can they, do a pool and you look at the report and see what the outcome is? Do they do all that stuff online, or do the teachers, will it make the job of the teacher easier? I guess the question is.
Yes, because what it will do in essence is group the students for them.
Right.
And it does provide historical data if that's what you're
Right.
mentioning. So if you have an 8th grade student, just to give an example, who's taking an iReady assessment,
Right.
and this data says one thing, then the next year when they take this, you have something to compare it to. So it's ongoing data, and then it stays in the system, so that if they're in 9th grade, when they get to 10th grade, if they want to reassess, they can
Okay.
show growth, and that's the whole purpose of the growth measure.
And so we can still, we're not throwing away iReady, because we can use that still, but that iReady will help us with this new program.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I think that's good. Thank you.
So the pricing here just kind of outsources the savings that we will receive by adopting a 6-year adoption with coaching, with a coaching discount. Per student for K2, we're saving $26. For 3-5, we're saving $22.58. For 6-8, $14.05. And then for 9-12, we just save a base rate of $20.34. For professional, the next item is professional development. One thing in particular in terms of introducing new resources to teachers, it's essential that we provide them with adequate professional development. Because if we don't, it's not going to be implemented with fidelity, and they're not going to know what resources that they have available to them. So we do have our K-12 virtual getting started trainings. Of course, it will be virtual starting out, a total of 6 hours. Then we also have leadership, district leadership, as well as principal leadership sessions that they will have. We also have wraparound services for coaching, studio coaching for teachers in grades K-8, as well as some face-to-face virtual, whichever is safer to use for our K-8 teachers. Cost summary. Our cost summary just kind of highlights everything that I've told you. K-12 will receive resource packages, both print and digital, for 6 years. They will receive K-12 teacher resource packages, print and digital, for 6 years, as well as the professional development package, and a total value of $294,593. Are there any additional questions or concerns, comments about the adoption of HMH? Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at the committee, and I'm familiar with most of these people, and I'm looking at the process. So you might have told us, you said that the team engaged in virtual presentations from each company. How many companies were there?
3.
3. And how did we arrive at those 3?
Because they were the ones that were listed on our North Carolina State adoption list.
Okay.
And they provided the resources that we needed K-12.
Okay. And so as they had time to explore them online as well as hard copy and fill out evaluations, how consensual was the arriving at this selection?
Very, because when you think about the outcomes and the ratings that they did provide and the comments that they provided, I will tell you, Pearson and HMH were very, very close. I mean, it was really just which would do better. And it boiled down to the fact that Pearson had, for high school, they had an outdated version of their textbook. And it was nowhere near the updated standards for K-12. So it was very close.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Anything else?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that you will, the students can be monitored through the system as far as their capability, their growth. What are you doing to make sure that teachers are utilizing these materials? Because they have a lot to work with, and it's great, but how would that be monitored?
Okay, a few different ways. First of all, the district level will have access to all the data, and we can actually go in and view the growth measurement. And then also principals will have that training as well to ensure that they know what to look for when they go to the classrooms, to ensure that they are utilizing all of the resources that we purchase. In addition to that, the wraparound services provide coaching services. So if it's anything that they're not doing in the classroom or that they're not using, then you have someone who's going to be able to tell them, okay, you have this resource, so you need to integrate this here in this area. So they're able to actually see if they're using all the materials that they do have, and it's just a monitoring process. It's going to have to be an ongoing monitoring process from all levels.
So you do have someone in place to make sure that that's getting done?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, and I just want to add one more thing, just to elaborate on what Ms. Jennings is saying. So in the past, we had different teachers in the district that was split among different schools providing coaching. One of the things that I saw just from the management team was there was a need to really focus on implementing MTSS with fidelity and making sure that we had instructional coaches that were assigned to schools, because principals were saying they really wanted to have someone assigned to their school. And so what we did was we looked at the budget, and based on the budget, we looked at the overage of the state allotments of the class sizes. And based on the class sizes, we were able to cut down on the number of teachers because of the teachers that had retired or the teachers that had resigned. We didn't fill those positions, and so we were able to take the funds from that to be able to assist us so that every school has a MTSS/instructional coach. And so that person, so for instance, Warren County Middle School didn't have that person here. They didn't have an MTSS person to support the movement and implementation, nor was there pretty much a full-time instructional coach. It was someone who came over 2 or 3 days a week. And so a part of it is being intentional about what the focus is. So as a district, if we're saying we want to focus on MTSS, we had to put our money where our mouth is. And so I had to find the money to be able to say, how are we gonna support the implementation of this? Not just say we have it and have two people at central office be over it, but to be able to say we have a coordinator now that's over MTSS, and in addition to a coordinator, each school now has an MTSS person that makes sure on a day-to-day basis that that's going on, and the instructional coach is also going on. And so having someone that's on at each school, that will help to ensure that both programs are going on, and with Fidelity, because there's a coordinator. At one time, we didn't have a coordinator. At one time, we had one person doing 5 different things, and I'm looking at the one person right now. And so now that we have a coordinator who's over MTSS, that will help us to be able to ensure that we're able to do it with Fidelity, also have training, and make sure that there's buy-in and an understanding, and make sure that everyone's on the same page. So having that structure in place, I believe will help. I just wanted to add that.
I'm smiling again.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Love that.
Another thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Question. Level books, will the students be able to take those home?
Yes,
And they can access those from their, laptops or?
both. Yes,
Okay.
they will have some that they can take home, as well as access them if they have an iPad, a tablet, or Chromebook, whichever they have, they'll be able to access those books. Yes, ma'am.
And so I just want to put another plug, because the goal is that every student will have a Chromebook. And so what that says is moving forward, one of the things that we'll be talking about is the school reentry plan. I just want to put a plug to say students will have access to their textbook on their Chromebook at home, as well as they're reading novels at home. And so a part of it is knowing that they will have access to that. I just want to put a plug in for future conversation. They will have access to that because they will have a Chromebook. So it's a matter of it being downloaded, and once it's downloaded, they can take it home and access it, you know, and have the ability to be able to do that, and not have to have, if they're at school, they have the hard copy, but at home, they have the digital copy, which would allow us to be able to continue our learning.
Okay.
And in addition
I guess
to,
the next move will be math, right?
yes.
Yes, ma'am. Our goal is to do a textbook
We
adoption.
get the money, that's right. We
Yes,
need it.
ma'am.
So is this effective this year, Ms. Jennings?
Yes, ma'am, this year. And I will say too, there was a question about how did we come up to this decision? Also, Google Classroom with HMH, with many of the resources, it's just a matter of pressing a button and it's uploaded to Google Classroom.
That's great.
So that's our LMS system, and I'm
That's
sure you hear
great.
about that later today. So that was another
It all
determining
just-
factor.
Yeah, great,
Seamlessly.
that's good.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on? No?
So now Ms. Jennings is going to be presenting the reading textbook contract proposal, because any contract above a certain amount of money must come before the board for approval. And so she wanted to provide the background information for you and the information before now presenting the proposal of the funds.
You do have 2 contract proposals attached. One is for K-8, and that is for $121,801.98. The 912 is $72,790.77, which gives us a total of $294,592.75. The information that I shared with you is all embedded in these proposals. So we would like to recommend that the board approve these proposals if you don't have any other questions.
I just want to be assured of the line item for the money for this. So textbooks, tell us where we get the money for textbooks. Let's start at the bottom and work up.
Okay, so for the textbooks, we will be utilizing local funds for a certain portion of it.
Okay.
And that's $180,000. And then the textbook, the state textbook fund will cover the remaining portion of that. And we get textbook funds year after year. However, you only receive a certain amount because
Like
the state does not
$65,000.
fund a textbook adoption anymore. And what has happened is we've had funds that do roll over, and those funds have accumulated, which is gonna allow us to, purchase this adoption.
How much did we have saved? I know we had some money left.
Now, I'm not sure, I would
But
have
it
to
was
get
a
Ms.
rollover.
Pulliam.
Yeah, we'd have to
But
ask
it was-
Mr. Pulliam, but there was some that was rolled over. I want to say there probably was about 200,000.
I thought it was about 2.
That
Yeah.
was left in textbook after being rolled over, and then we're looking to take the difference from the local. But then also, there was also a request from the county for the literacy project. And so we're waiting to see what the county's itemized, because the itemized for the county was, I believe, 250,000 for the literacy project. And so we were waiting to see what the county was itemizing their 354, and we hadn't gotten that yet. But there are funds to be able to pay for reading textbook. And ultimately, like I said, the goal is that there will be a textbook adoption where every year we will be able to have textbooks on a 6-year cycle where we're able to rotate textbooks so that we're able to have current information in the schools.
So I want to get clear on something. So how much money does Warren County Schools get from the state for textbooks each year?
It really depends because it's not a set figure. It really depends on ADM and funds that we're utilizing. I know on the college level or early college level, we utilize some of those funds to purchase those books, but it's a very small amount.
Well, that's what I wanted to address. My understanding is that early college gets a PRC 055, 2007, $275,000. And I know that most early colleges, the ones that I've talked to, they use that budget to pay for their early college books.
Right.
So my question is, are we spending money, is early college getting its money, it's $275,000, as well as getting our textbook money?
We would have to investigate that to see.
I'd like clarification on that.
We would have to investigate that to see. Because I know that there's certain line items that you can only spend certain things on, so we would just have to find out what. But my understanding is in the past, the textbook money was used to pay for early college textbooks, but a part of it is trying to understand why and just investigating what needs to happen.
Yeah, I would like to look into that because from what I understand from the early college, that the one in particular who, I brought this up before, the principal at early college at Edgecombe County, he's definitely, your textbook money should come from the allotment given to the county for early college.
So we'll investigate that.
So I would like to make sure that we take a look.
And my computer is out, so can you tell me what the numbers again, what the total of that amount is?
Okay, K8, you just want the total?
The whole bottom line, yeah.
Okay, the bottom line is $294,592.75.
And 50, okay. All right. And I know you guys are asking for action on this item. And I think, Victoria, you bring up a really good point. And so I would say, and I'm asking you guys as board members, can we find out that information first so we know? Because you don't want to have money that we could possibly use. I would think that we do the research, but we don't know for sure even if that money is there, and if so, can we use it?
I received an email from Dr. Young that suggested maybe 65,000, something close to that was given.
About 65
and
per
about
year.
33,000 of that was spent by early college.
Yes.
While so that's half of the money of the textbook money is going to early college, and then half of the money we wait 5 years to get textbooks for.
Why?
That's what
And I know that
that's what I
know.
want to understand about this money because.
We also purchase textbooks for like certain areas at Warren County High School. If students are taking Advanced Granville courses, we also purchase textbooks for those students as well. So it really just depends on
The need?
The need, right.
Well, my point is that there is money given to the Innovative School Project, the early college, for that purpose. And I want to make sure that money is being used for Warren Early College textbooks, regardless of what's happening at Warren County High School, because that's something different.
That's a good
That's a
point.
pot of money that we would not have if we did not have early college. And that's $275,000, given that we're tier 1. And I think that's a big chunk of money, and I would like to make sure that early college textbook money comes from that.
Now, let me ask this, where are you getting that number from? Because you're saying.
From Matt Briston Smith.
No, I mean,
No, but from,
you don't have to use a name, but.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you,
How did he get that number?
What
Is it
number?
The ADM per student?
The 275,000.
275,000? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I got that from Mr. Smith, who is principal at early college, and he says all early colleges in tier 1 get $275,000.
So it's
So
a base
we-
number, so it's a base number.
Base
So
number.
we do get a certain amount of money,
Oh.
but that money is, and it's money that's been listed every year on the budget for the board, but the money is based upon the needs of the school. And so sometimes, so a part of it is, I can't say concretely, this is where 10,000 goes, this is where, but just know that that money is basically taken care of in supporting the early college program. Now, as a district, for whatever reason, the district may have decided, in addition to supporting the early college program, we need additional funds to pay for textbooks, and we had the money to pay for textbooks because we weren't buying textbooks at the time. So that may have been the reason why the textbook money was used, because it wasn't being used at the time, and it was
Gotcha.
rolling over.
Gotcha.
I guess for me, it's just a matter of the apples and the oranges, because this is a proposal to say that we have the funds in the textbook money and in the local funds, despite early college. That's a
Right.
whole different story. So the funding for early college has nothing to do with the reading textbook proposal that's moving forward. It's just a matter of getting clarification. And I just say that the longer we wait, we will, if we wait, and that, I mean, once again, it's the pleasure of the board, but the longer we wait, that slows down the process of putting the order in to get textbooks in place for students versus getting an answer on where the money was spent and how was it spent versus knowing the money is there to place the order.
How much of the 294
Yeah,
is,
I agree with her.
how much of the 294 is coming out of local funds versus
That's
textbook? 108,
180?
108,
108.
because we have about 200, almost about 200 already in textbook.
And you were able, if I remember correctly, I think you said in a meeting, you were able to, I think when we went through this, you just kind of shut things down and froze things, and you were able to save.
Yes.
So that's kind of how you came up with some of the other money too?
So so one part of it is when we had the audit back in like December from the financial wellness, and they basically said that we were probably about $700,000 short in our
Right.
budget, 400 from the county. Then a part of it is Ms. Pulliam and I, we sat down, looked at the budget, we did a budget freeze on certain items, we did a budget freeze on salaries, and so as a result of that budget freeze, we were able to save money, whereas so at the end of this year, we were able to have about $390,000 in the fund balance, which is a carryover for this year. In addition to that, because of the cuts that we have put in place for personnel for this year, we were also able to save $1 million in cuts. And so some of those cuts included when central office people retired or resigned, we didn't fill central office positions, and that was probably, and I don't want to throw a number out, but we had a number of people that retired and resigned, and when they retired and resigned, because I know that that was a comment or that was stated about central office being top heavy, we didn't fill those positions. So we're talking about probably between 7 to 10 people. In addition, one of the other comments that was made was that our teacher to student allotment ratio was too high. And so because of our student to teacher ratio,
This is not it.
being a concern, we were able to make the necessary adjustments, and as a result, in this year's budget, we were able to save $1 million because of the cuts. And so those are the cuts that are the money and the funds that I wanted to put aside to be able to use to now take care of the district's real needs, which are things like textbooks and other areas, because for me, that's the purpose for us being here. And so
Thank you.
those are the things that, you know, were put in place, but the funds are there. And so, I don't know if I needed to repeat that.
Well,
because I know we
since
was talking to you.
waiting to find out where the money is shouldn't affect,
It should not.
shouldn't
No,
affect
I'm not-
voting on
It
this.
should not.
Because it can always be
Exactly.
turned back over to wherever we took the local money
And
from.
I'm not suggesting
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we can,
Hmm.
give us a second. So are you finished your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So is there any more discussion, Linda, with thoughts about this at all? I know I hadn't heard anything from you. Everybody else has kind of chimed in. You agree with, you have any questions or anything about this? Okay. So what were you gonna say,
I
Victoria?
just wanted to close that. I'm in total support of these textbooks.
Right.
I'm not trying to suggest that I'm
Mhm.
not. I just want to make sure I want to make sure there's equity in how we spend our money.
Exactly.
And if in a prior administration, early college money was used as well as textbook money for early college, I want to make sure that we address that and we make that decision as to how that money
Right.
is spent.
Yeah.
Yes, so we have more money at this, for math textbooks next.
So I do call for a motion, because we can take action. Ms. Long?
Yes, I would like to make, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the reading text box contract proposal be adopted, that we approve that.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second that we do approve the textbook contract. May we vote, please?
Are we still, do we have?
It's on, it should be on your screen now, is it?
Oh, no, let me see.
It's still not letting me.
It may not. And if not, you can raise your hand.
Okay.
We all in favor? Aye. The ayes have it, so the motion is carried. Thank you, Ms. Jennings. I appreciate your
Thank you, Ms.
presentation.
Jennings.
Thank you so much.
Math next. I'm gonna find some more. I promise you, because they got to have it. They already started.
Smiling behind your mask.
I'm smiling. Because how you gonna expect baby smile if they don't have it? It's been 10 years.
All right, payroll?
And so now we're gonna have Ms. Pulliam, who's gonna come and share the annual payroll schedule and also the supplement schedule.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Ms. Pulliam.
So what we have here is the first table is our payroll schedule for this year. And it just gives those pay dates for those different categories of employees, from 12-month employees to 10-month and 11-month, to our bus drivers, child nutrition, longevity, and our miscellaneous pay. Any questions or concerns about this schedule for the payroll?
I think we're good. Thank you, Floyd.
Okay,
So
and the second table
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
Get a question?
includes the details about our pay periods and the applicable absence periods, so we know which time periods fall into each category, as well as when time sheets need to be turned in for those employees who have to turn it in. That's in table 2. And it coincides with that payroll schedule as well. Any questions or concerns?
And so it's recommended that the board approve the FY21 payroll schedule.
So they're asking for, calling for a motion to approve the F-121 payroll schedule?
Madam
Unless you
Chair?
guys have questions.
Is there discussion?
That's what I'm asking. Did you have any? I don't think we have any questions. Go right ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the FY21 pay period and absence period. Is that what it is?
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and properly second that we approve the F-121 payroll schedule and pay/absence period schedule. May we vote, please? You can raise your hand. All aye.
I could this time.
Okay, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ms. Pulliam.
You're welcome. So the next thing I'm presenting is the FY21 supplement schedule. And this schedule was revised in order for us to be more competitive with our surrounding counties. So here's the schedule. The top schedule is our athletic tier chart, and below are our district supplements and our miscellaneous supplements.
The one thing that I will add and I will note is that although there was an increase to this, comparing ourselves to other surrounding counties, we are still below them in the amount of money for supplement. But ultimately, the goal is that at least when we're able to find the funds, and this was another example of us finding local funds and being able in a budget to be able to make the necessary adjustments. Because had we not had that, we wouldn't have been able to make this proposal to you this evening.
So I got a question, and I want to be clear that I understand this document. So I think you're proposing that the teachers have is it a sign-on or is it a supplement for every teacher that's in the district period, or only the ones that come in new?
So are you looking at the district supplement box? Are you looking at that?
I'm in the district supplement box.
Yes, that's for each teacher. So each teacher will get that Currently, it's 1,900, so it's going from 1,900 to 2,900.
I think that's great.
And I would just add, in Vance County, it's almost 4,000. And it does matter, $2,000-3,000 does matter for some people.
So then let me just, if I could, go down, and I may be a little, but I wanna make sure I just wanna, because when we approve this, we're approving the whole thing, not in the individual. So you're saying that the high school band, whoever that instructor is gonna get 2,500?
Correct.
The elementary principal, 4,000? The elementary assistant principal, 3,000? Am I right?
Yes.
Is that the middle school principal?
Yes, middle school.
5,400. The middle school assistant, 3,000. And then what are those codes? I'm just wondering.
So for the high school principal, it's based on the ADM at the school.
Okay.
So it's that 0 to a 100 is 0 to 100 students.
So that explains the amount, the difference in the amounts because of the ADM.
Yes.
Gotcha. And so then the high school assistant principal, 3,500. Then the superintendent, 10 grand.
Yes.
You say officer, I was confused about that. Is that you guys, exec team?
Yes, chief
Okay.
academic.
Chief academic, okay, 5,000. The directors, 4,000. Supervisors, 3,800. Coordinators, 3,600. And classified, 600. Now, help me, I know classified are the ones who are not licensed.
Correct.
And that would be somebody, for an example, would be like an IT person?
Yes.
Okay.
Or custodian,
And a
or
bus-
child nutrition worker.
Bus drivers. And I would say theirs, it was 300, and we doubled it from 300 to 600.
But it is still a little low
Yes,
compared to the money that you're giving to all of these other folk.
yes. And ultimately, a part of it was trying to have an increase that was competitive. Because once again, not minimizing anyone, but no one else on there doubled except classified, because the number of people that we have that are classified.
So nobody
So-
double but classified, you saying? But
And like I
classified was
said-
at 300?
Yes, classified was at 300, and we went from 300 to 600.
Okay. I just wanted to make
And
sure.
that was for the past, how many years they received 300? It's been
I know at least 5.
Has it really?
and so, not trying to say that we're minimizing, but at the same time, the goal is to show that we're trying to make strides to at least increase our supplement with the money that we have from remaining balance from the local, now I won't say remaining balance, but the adjustments from the local funds.
And any discussion around this, you guys?
Just out of curiosity, you said the teachers had 1,900 last year and it's 2,900 this year. Did each of these increase proportionally about the same as the teachers did?
No, there were different increases. For example, the teacher increase was 52%, classified 100%, officers about 42%, directors 60%. So it all differed based on the comparison of the surrounding counties.
That's what was my question, was how did you determine what the increase was and why?
It was just based on those surrounding ones and just trying to get as close as we could based on what the budget that we have available.
So question, then classified. If you compare it with other districts, tell me what they normally would get.
So one example is Granville County, and their classified gets $815.
Okay,
So it's a
Okay.
difference of about 26%.
gotcha. Okay. And so, I just have to be clear, so then what about, I know the superintendent's, the allotment there, how much percent was that?
It's the same as it has been. It
Okay,
didn't change.
so that's gonna always be that each year,
Yes.
okay.
Or whatever the board approves.
Or if we approve, yeah.
The national board, is that people who are newly national board?
Yes, ma'am.
And so, is it, the supplement for the superintendent's position, is it something that is paid by the state, or is that coming out of local funds? Because I know sometimes, if I'm not mistaken, the state gives you a certain amount of money, and then if we choose as a board to give more or less, then we have to get it from our local funds, is that correct?
That's correct,
Yes.
ma'am. So our
So I'm asking.
employees who are paid from state funds, The state doesn't pay supplements. Only federal funds pay supplements. So if it's a state paid employee, we have to pay them from local funds. But if it's a federally paid employee, we can pay those from the federal funds.
All right, so let me just make sure I got you. State doesn't pay supplements.
Correct, except Restart. They're flexible.
So all of this money is coming out of our local,
Yes, for some of the positions, because some positions, some teachers are paid
through
federally.
through federal, I
Yes.
got you,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. And I guess we have found the money, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's an example of
I
me
just wanna
saying, put your money where your mouth
Right.
is. We want to make sure we retain and keep high-quality staff.
Right.
So we need to pay them. We want to make sure we have instruction in the classroom, so we have to find the money for it. So this is just another example of us finding the money and making sure that our budget reflects the ability to be able to make this recommendation to the board.
And it's paid in 2 increments, right?
Yes, in December and then whatever their last pay date is in that summer.
Yeah.
So this is the total for the two.
Yes, that's the total, so that, those numbers will be split. Except for classified, they receive that entire amount in December.
So how does this work with, I see there's band, what are other positions that get a supplement?
All-
Coaches? And that's just not here, how does that
That's
work?
at
Coaches
the
is at the
top.
top, athletics.
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry,
at the
oh,
top.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was focusing on
The
that.
tier
I
1 through
lost sight of
6.
that, thank you.
And how much is theirs? That's so small.
Based on their years and whichever tier they're in, that's what they get paid.
Okay, so give me an example.
So we might have a coach.
Oh, I see it at the top, okay. I didn't pull
So
up
the
on it.
top is the
Yeah.
years and then whatever tier.
Okay,
And then the categories are below it.
And that was increased as well because we heard that that was a concern, and so we looked to see what other counties were paying.
right,
And so what we did was we based it on number of years rather than just the position.
right.
And this is the number of years they've been teaching or in that position?
As an athletic,
In that position?
yes, ma'am. So if you were a coach, the number of years you were a coach.
So if they was a first or 2 year, then they would get the 2,500.
If you were 0 to 5 and you're an athletic, high school athletic, director or football coach,
Is that second column wrong? That
Huh?
800?
Second column.
Say it again.
That, where, for 6 to 10 years, tier 1, 800.
That's what confused me, that's why I was wondering.
That can't be
I'll
right.
check
Can't be right.
Because if you
It may-
5
it's
to,
not-
if
I'm
you
wondering
0
if
to
it's
5 in
switched.
tier 1, you're 25.
Right.
If you, the same, if you're tier 1, 6 to 10, it can't be 800.
That's why I was asking, going through the numbers, because when I saw the 800, I said, well, why would 800 be
'Cause
there
it's,
with
yeah,
6 to 10?
it's still the same tier and it's more experience. You can't go down to 800.
I agree.
no, I think, are these all the positions?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
If
matter.
you're a high school coach, or if you're a high school football coach, in tier 1, 0 to 5 years, you're 2,500.
That's what
If
I
you
was,
got more experience, 6 to 10 years, you can't go to 800.
Yeah, we would need to get, I need to get clarification.
I just think
Yeah.
it leave it up.
Yeah, that one,
Because I
I think it's just a
think,
typo.
oh,
Yeah.
It's a
Mr.
typo.
that one is probably a typo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I was
Are you able
asking.
to respond in reference to the tier?
yeah, that's probably a typo.
I believe it's a typo.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
typo.
Yeah, I was checking.
Yeah, that can't be right. Mm-hmm.
So then let me just go back and be clear, and I'm not trying to prolong, but I want to understand. So if you're a coach and you're from 0 to 5 years, will you get the $2,500? Yes or no?
Tier 1,
one.
Mhm.
that's for
Tier
high school
one.
and high school football coaches. Is
Or
in that
ADs.
tier.
Or the
athletic
AD?
director.
If we could get Mr. Stewart, who's over athletics, to just explain his wonderful chart.
Good evening. There are tiers, and there are $300 increments every 5 years, is how it goes up. So there may have been a typo in it, I couldn't see.
Oh, so it's 20, the
It
2
should
is
be
left out.
28.
28, that's why I said the 2 is left out.
So the 2 is missing.
Okay.
It's $300 increments every
Gotcha.
3 years.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was the only thing, that's, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Thank you. And I'm sorry about that, but that's the only reason why I prolonged it, because I was confused.
Yeah.
When that went down, I was like, wait a minute. But okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I'm sorry for prolonging. Okay. So, this is actually an action item. But Robbie, I guess, let me ask a question. This is just hypothetical. Well, I don't know, maybe, I guess, Okay. I have a question on my mind. I'm just trying to figure out how to frame it. Like for an example, if I'll actually just Dr. Young, maybe you can tell me. If just say for instance, if we had a situation where a principal maybe was going to go to another district or whatever, if that principal has already left or planning to leave or whatever, then that means that that person doesn't get this supplement, right?
If my understanding, Ms. Pulliam can correct me, it's at the time where you were hired. If you were still here, you'd receive the supplement. Is that correct?
Yes, it's based on how long you have been here. So if you look at the blurb that's at the bottom, it tells you about whether it's for a certified person or principal. So let's use the principal example. So that principal, if they start before the 15th of the month, they'll be considered as service. By December, they'll be able to get the December payment. But let's say if they left now, they couldn't get the December payment. If that was your example.
Okay, yeah. So if they're projected to, they'll get this, they won't get the December one, no.
No.
Okay.
But they can't leave getting it. They have to have been employed to get it during the time frame for each installment. So say you received it in December, but you leave in January, you don't get anything for the other half.
Right, and that makes sense. But you will get it in December though.
Yes.
Okay.
And also another example, if an employee comes in later in the year, then that amount will be prorated. Like if they come in, let's say for the December one, let's say they start in October.
Gotcha.
So that December payment will be prorated.
I just wanted to know that because that was what I was leading to. Like just say if I came in mid-year and my other colleagues are getting or have gotten or received the 2,900, but I came in mid-year, I will get some of that portion of the 2,900.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. This is for a motion. Is there any more discussion?
I move that we accept the FY21 supplement schedule, proposed supplement schedule.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second that we accept the supplement schedule. May we vote, please? And if I could, before we vote, can I have a little bit more discussion? And I hate to prolong, but I'm asking, Robbie, if you could help me. Let's just say, for an example, for whatever reason, could we possibly vote on this, and then if we need to make changes and come back and make amendments, could we do that? I need to know legally where we are.
So you vote to approve.
I'm just asking.
As provided, so once you approve it, if it's pleasure of, say, the administrative unit of the school system to bring it back before the board, sure, the board has no independent authority to bring it back.
Okay.
And so the board either approves or does not approve.
And the reason why, and I guess one of the reasons why I'm asking is because, you know, I was wondering if we could possibly find more money for the classified, but I know I figured you did as much as you could to find money, but you know, if we could possibly find more money for the classified position, because it just seems to me, and I just need to say it, that you know, that the people on the low totem poles are always the ones that are getting the low amount of money, and they seem to be the feet on the ground, for lack of a better term. And so if there was a possibility, and I'm sure Dr. Young, you could maybe go back and revisit in the near future, if we possibly could find some, then maybe we could you know, because they're only getting, they did get 100% because you guys went from 300 to 600.
300 to 600.
However, 300 is not a lot of money.
That's in 5 years. So prior to, they
And I
had
know.
only been getting 300. So I was able to at least come in and double it. And in Vance, Granville, they're getting 800 and something. So that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that next year we can't find another 100 or 200 for them.
Yeah.
But at least it's, I'm just saying, it's competitive. Whereas for
Just a
5
thought.
years, they were getting 300. I mean, I'm just saying because of the great, I saw that as great strides of trying to show, we were trying to make some catch up or concession
I'm sure they'll be shocked.
to go from 3 to 6. Because for the past 5 years, they've been getting 3. Not
Okay.
minimizing them. And we
So
will
the mo-
look each year to try to find money because we want to do that for everyone, to increase it.
Yeah. So the motion has been made improperly. Can we vote? Again, I'm sorry.
It's not working out, worked last time.
All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pulliam.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Pulliam.
Mr. Stewart is gonna come and he's gonna present the school district reentry plan. And as he's coming in, there are a number of different documents that, we've been provided from, North Carolina Department of Public Instruction as well as the health. But the very last one is the one that was recently, modified and updated that we'll be presenting to you in light of the information we received today from our governor.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good
Madam
evening.
Chair, Madam Superintendent, board members. I'm before you tonight to present the reentry plan for Warren County Schools. I want to first introduce you to the committee and who's on our committee. The committee was made up of the executive cabinet, the directors of transportation, technology, child nutrition, maintenance, our student services coordinators, anyone that directly dealt with, all departments were represented is what I'm trying to say. It's back, Mr. Carter.
It's number 1, slide 1,
There you go.
2.
So those were the individuals. Oh, and I'm sorry, I left out my principals. How could I leave them out? Principals representing the elementary, the middle, and the high school level. So everybody was represented. Am I in your way, Ms. Lehman?
No, I could see it here, but I prefer to watch you in it.
Oh,
So
okay.
I moved over here so I could see both of you.
Yes, ma'am. The task that we had, on June 8th, the governor, in conjunction with the DPI, sent out regulations for us to develop 3 plans, a plan A, B, and C. With these plans, we had to look at what fit best for Warren County. Plan A was to return to school 100% of our students using only social distancing and PPE. Plan B was to come up with some type of hybrid plan that involved 50% of our student body being in the building, and Plan C was all remote learning. So under Plan A, when we began to look at it, what we quickly discovered was that we did not have the building space or the staff to be able to pull this off. So once you socially distance desks and you put them 6 feet apart, the maximum amount of desks that we could put in any classroom is 13. We had classes that were averaging 27 to 30 students per class. So Plan A was not feasible for us here in Warren County. Under Plan B, the committee began to look at things like what's going to work best for our kids, all of our kids. How do we move our students? So the committee came up with something that simply said we had an A week and a B week. So we could feasibly divide our student body in half, our entire district in half, and have an A week where half of our students were in the classroom face to face, the other half were online. They would go 5 days in that mode, and then they would flip in week 2. So A week, B week, you would be 5 days face to face, 5 days remote learning. We would use Google Classroom. Ms. Jennings alluded to it earlier. That's our LMS, our learning management system. All of our students would be equipped with Chromebooks. So we have 1,800 Chromebooks coming into the district in early August that we will be able to distribute to all of our students. We are working on all of our internet issues. We're looking at things such as turning our schools into drive-in hotspots. We are looking at the possibility of putting hotspots on buses and taking them to neighborhoods where the internet is an issue. We're also looking to explore things like, can we purchase hotspots and give them out to people? Or all of the above. We're trying to find the best way that we can service our community. Plan C was remote, 100% online. Like we said before, we've already purchased the Chromebooks. We're waiting for their arrival. They will be here before school starts. We're looking at all of those options for internet service for everyone. We have put out some surveys, and I'll allude to the surveys here shortly. And we've fielded a lot of phone calls already concerning our remote learning plan. In conjunction with the 3 plans, the state told us that we had to develop a virtual academy. So we went about doing that already. The virtual academy is for any parent, any student that selects that they don't want to have their child face-to-face. Because for various reasons. It could be health reasons, it could be fear, anything of that nature. We have to offer that as a district. So last week, in conjunction with the IT department and the schools, we sent out a survey online on our social media, as well as we mailed it out to parents, along with a transportation opt-out form. This went out late Thursday afternoon. As of yesterday, we already had 200 people that applied for the virtual academy online. So we haven't really started to receive the mail back. We sent self-addressed envelopes to be able to get them in, and we're putting them on a spreadsheet so we can see the entire district. Each school has a tab on the spreadsheet. But just from the ones that were online, we have over 200 already for the virtual academy. So in the last board meeting, I presented some of this data as well. We initially sent out a parent survey. We had 1,271 replies to this survey, and it asked things like, where does your child go to school? There were 900 and some parents that replied here. You go to the next slide, Mr. Connor. And you can see, these are all the schools. So what I wanted to put this here, so you can see that there was a good representation from each school. There were at least 120 parents from every school that replied. So you can see it's a good breakdown. And we started asking questions, such as, based on where we are you comfortable sending your child back to school? And I wanted you to pay close attention to the responses at the bottom. You can see hesitant and concerned, 24%, extremely uncomfortable, 35%. And I will not send my child back to school unless we have a vaccine at 17%. So our parents have said that they are concerned or that they will not send their children back without a vaccine. So, and that's the constant thing that we've seen with the surveys that we've been sending out and the communication we've been having. When looking at what type of modality of learning would you love for your children, almost 50%, 49% said online only. That's that virtual aspect. You can see that 24% said they would be blending home and school. 11% said on campus in the school building. So I'm going to be honest with you. The phone calls that I receive are a lot of fearful parents and grandparents. And I'll address that shortly. And I'll also tell you some of the things that we have done as a district to comfort people. But a lot of people are afraid because there is no vaccine. So we don't have a vaccine, but we're going to do everything in our power to make sure our children can learn in the best way possible. As Warren County Schools, we transition to online learning. What support would you need? 47% said they didn't need any support. 10% said internet service. So that was the question that we always have and we always come up with. We need to figure out a way to get them the internet.
For 10%
for that 10%. We have even contacted the county, and they have agreed that they would let us use county buildings to put hotspots in. So we are doing due diligence to try to make sure that we reach everybody and that everybody has the option that they want. Some interesting data that came out of that survey, 70% of parents said they would not allow their children to play sports, contact sports. 70% said they would not allow their children to ride the bus. And 71% said that they would purchase a cloth mask for their children to go back to school. So the data is telling us that parents are afraid of riding the bus. Busing is an issue. I will tell you that as far as busing is concerned, one of the things that we've done as a district is we've made a decision. We're going to follow the guidelines that the bus can only have a maximum of 11 students on it, unless they are siblings. So we're going to have to sit every other seat to socially distance on the bus. Siblings can sit together. The state has also asked us to make sure buses are ventilated. So we will be riding, we'll have windows down, so we can get a circulation of air in. They've said the same thing about classrooms. So we sent out that opt-out transportation form, and I know that there has been some discussion about that in the community. The reason for that is what I'm describing to you. Our normal bus routes carry about 45 students per bus, and that number is being reduced down to 11. So we have to be able to plan and know what parents are going to bring their children to school if we decide to open school, and what parents are going to want them to ride the bus so we can plan accordingly. We also sent a survey out to our staff. We have about 70% of our staff that responded to the survey. The survey went to their emails, phone call, as well as to their text messaging on their phone. When we surveyed the staff, we found out about 60% were teachers. We had about 248 responses to be exact. They were spread out all over the county, different jobs, different titles. And when we asked them how they felt about coming back to school in a staggered format, you know, possibly like Plan B, what we saw, you go back. 34% said they were hesitant and concerned. 20% said they were extremely uncomfortable, and 6% said that they would not be returning to the school building. When we looked at challenges, we saw that half of our staff said that, you know, they could come back with safety guidelines and be able to perform. But we did have those that said they had issues and challenges that would not allow them to return. That was 10%, 27 people. And 39% said that they could come back, you know, with some precautions. All right, some additional elements, concerns for parents. Safety. I spoke with a grandfather this afternoon after the governor spoke. He has 5 grandchildren in Warren County. He has a high schooler that lives with him. And he said to me, Mr. Stewart, I'm scared to send my grandchild to school because I'm like a lot of people in Warren County. I'm older. I'm susceptible to this. My child can go to school and bring it home to me. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm trying to find out what we can do best. And he asked me, he said, my daughter lives in an area where the internet doesn't work very well. So he asked me what we would do. So I explained to him the things I just told you. These are the options that we're trying. He said, thank you, sir. He said, can I call you again? I said, anytime, sir. Anytime. You dial my extension, it comes to my cell phone. You can talk to me anytime. He is just an example of a lot of people that have called me over the last few days. They're saying the same things. We're afraid. There's no vaccine. What is the school system going to do? Well, we purchased thousands and thousands of dollars of cleaning equipment, of cleaning products. We will be deep cleaning our schools twice a week. On Wednesdays and Fridays, we will fog them. They will be cleaned daily. We have hand sanitizer stations that will be going up tomorrow in all of our buildings. Our buses, like I described in the last board meeting, will be fogged twice a day, after the morning run and after the afternoon run. So we are taking precautions. We have masks. The governor did say this afternoon that he was going to provide at least 5 masks for students and staff. We currently have masks in the district. That's probably a 2 to 3 month supply for everyone in the district. So we have some things in place that, whatever the pleasure of the board is, we can hopefully run school as safe as possible. But one thing that we can't do, until we get a vaccine, we can't erase the fear like that grandfather that I spoke to this afternoon. Some other concerns that parents have had, aging, overall fears, dress code has become a big thing. Spoke to a grandmother in Littleton, and she said she doesn't like having to go to stores for obvious reasons. Her granddaughter is growing, and she told me that I told her I was presenting to the board tonight, and I would get the board's approval on some things. The board would vote on some things, and she said, well, Mr. Stewart, I'm going to tell you what. If you don't, I'm getting a petition, and we're going to sign a petition, and we're going to be in the next one. I said, yes, ma'am. They are basically saying that with the uniforms, they would like to, and this is what the committee said. After listening to parents and reaching out, they're calling schools, they're calling me. If the board's pleasure would be to suspend the uniform policy for a year, dealing with COVID and keeping our parents from having to go out and shop and buy because we don't readily have things available in our area. That if the board was pleased to do that, that the parents and the schools would be very appreciative. Additional items, our staff, in the slides I showed you, they have some concerns as far as health, things that will not allow them to return. Our bus driver population, we have an aging bus driver population, and we have some staff members that are aging and in a vulnerable state as well. So I know that the governor said this afternoon that children don't spread it as much. They don't get it as much, but it is the job of us in Warren County to look after the children, but also to look after the adults, and to look after those who are taking care of children. We have suspended our athletic workouts right now. We had not started anything, so we just suspended everything indefinitely until we get word from the High School Athletic Association on the direction that they are taking. So we're not putting our children on the field for workouts and all of those things. We will tell you that we've taken some other precautions that I might not have mentioned. We have thermometers. So if you enter a building in Warren County schools, they're going to take your temperature upon you entering the building. If your temperature is above 100 degrees, they're going to ask you to leave immediately. And those are for our workers. It's for the safety of everyone at this point because this virus affects everyone differently. We have all those things, the forms and all those things. So if athletics does come back, we are prepared to begin and properly take care of our students. I spoke about the transportation opt-out form. It is not for the entire year. That is one of the falsehoods. If a parent decides to opt out of transportation, they are opting out of transportation for a 9-week period. That is because we can only put 11 children on the bus, and we have to be able to plan who we're picking up daily. The other element that we have to look at is the governor gave us the decision today of either Plan B or Plan C. Going with Plan B is going to cost us more money because we're going to have to buy more PPE. We're going to have to. There's no way around it. And the 5 masks that he is going to send us won't last very long. And I would just ask you to think about little children. I'd ask you to think about 2nd and 3rd graders and what they would be like wearing masks. Kindergartners. My wife is a pre-K teacher, and we already talk about the fact that they will be swinging the mask. They're going to drop it in the toilet. They're going to trade masks. So those things are real when we start talking about our children and how many masks we're going to go through and consume in a year. Next steps, we plan on having a town hall Zoom that our parents can call into and join. So they can ask those questions like I heard in public forum and some others that had, and we can answer them directly. We are going on War Radio on the 23rd, Dr. Young and I, to answer some questions. We're compiling that data as far as the Virtual Academy is concerned. Those applications are due back by the 20th, so we can have complete data. And if the governor comes back with anything else, we will adjust our plan. Here are the COVID numbers for the counties, and I'm the person that keeps a monitor of this in the district. Warren County, as of noon today, had 192 confirmed cases. But around us, the numbers are very, very high. And I would honestly tell you as I was in the school today, a worker told me, Mr. Stewart, the only reason Warren County's numbers aren't as high as everybody else is because people aren't getting tested in Warren County like they are in other counties. If you look to one side of us, Halifax has 430 confirmed cases. Beneath us, Franklin has 518. To the other side, Vance has 589, and Granville has 954 cases. So the cases continue to rise. And this is the picture that we keep looking at and asking ourselves, can we put our children back in school with all this going on? Can we put them on the athletic field with all this going on? So our recommendation from the committee was to the board, if it is your pleasure, that we would go with Plan C, which is the virtual plan, for the first quarter of the year, and then we would assess at that point the numbers to see if we needed to stay virtual or come back into Plan B, which is 50%. Any questions?
The first quarter will be from when to when?
The first quarter would end in mid-October.
And why did you choose quarter instead of semester?
Just in case, because semesters are so long, if the vaccine appears in September, October, and we want to get the children back in school, we wanted to reserve the right to be able to get back to school as normal as possible.
Okay. So can we look at quarter and then come back and discuss going back, discuss keeping them out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you just say.
Keeping
so
them out when I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I was saying, when you say adopt for the quarter, can we not say come back at the end of the quarter, but look at it at quarter and maybe go to semester?
Gotcha.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking,
Right.
I'm thinking through December and come back in January.
I agree.
But I'm thinking rather than say
Yeah.
for the quarter, which is October, can we just look at that before we vote and say come back at the end
That
of the
makes
quarter?
sense.
Let's look at, yeah.
Good
Okay.
point. Any other questions, any discussion?
Well, I don't want to play the devil's advocate, but
Yeah.
if we are totally virtual and at the federal level, we have a president who says he's going to withhold federal funds, how would that affect us if we didn't put our kids back in
He
schools?
doesn't have a right to do
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
I'm just,
The job of education is the state's, and that would equal state lawsuits against the federal government. But I will tell you that while I was sitting in the media center, waiting to come in and present, I started getting text messages that other school districts are already doing this. People are already,
Virtual.
Plan C, remote.
and they're going virtual for a period.
So, so let me ask this. My only concern, I totally agree that it's not safe. So I'm not saying that, but my concern though is can we ensure, and I know this is hard to, to say, but can we work on ensuring that our students are learning? How can we monitor the progress? How can we move the pulse of their learning so that we know that our children are receiving the education that they need doing it virtually? I do realize that it's a very difficult job for the teachers because it's a lot more than what they've been doing. So we have to put some systems in place to assist these teachers because these teachers cannot do this work by themselves and it all falls on them.
And what the committee has already done, you heard me refer to the LMS, Google Classroom as the LMS. And the last meeting you heard me talk talk about things like Ed Modem
Yep,
that we will put onto the LMS.
okay,
One of the things that we talked about is that nobody's going to work in a vacuum.
okay.
So with teachers, what we're saying to print, and not just in schools, we're talking about for the district.
Mm-hmm,
So let's take third grade math. I can be a math teacher at Vaughn, and you can be a math teacher at Marion Boyd.
mm-hmm,
We're going to get together, we're going to break down our curriculum, and we're going to take certain parts of it. We're going to be able to put together a shared file
that's good.
of resources.
Mm-hmm,
You take the fractions and make the videos on the fractions. I'm going to take the multiplication. Somebody else takes the division. Now, instead of me having to do it, or you having to do everything
that's good,
yourself,
Stuart.
you have a pool of resources.
That you can pull from the
across
shared drive,
You can put in the shared
and
drive.
everybody has access.
And be able to pull from the shared drive.
That's good.
And now, because what I said to the principals was this, we don't want this task to become so daunting that teachers
That's
run
right.
out the door.
That's right,
We need to retain teachers.
that's right,
So if we can make their life easier,
that's right.
that's what we want to do. So
That's-
that is part of our
that's a-
plan, and that also moves the needle
Yep,
in giving us quality instruction.
that's a good
And
point.
not, and had we not had COVID, this wouldn't have been able, so this forced us
Yeah.
to be
Right.
resourceful.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Okay,
So,
So teachers have they started this collaboration? working
They,
together?
not as of today, because we need board approval for everything. But once we receive board approval, yes,
Then
ma'am,
we'll
and they
know
come back
which
to
way
work.
to go.
Because that should be in place anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
It should be,
Yeah, but
all
it's not.
Collaborating.
math teachers should be working together.
Absolutely,
And, you know,
absolutely.
so what if I'm an essential worker and I have a child that attends Warren County Schools and I have to go to work and I have no
Yeah.
means for my child? How do we accommodate parents who this puts them in a bind? Is there anything we can do to help that parent?
Well, part of it, part of our committee was personnel, and we have to look at everything in case by case. So while we can't throw blanket statements out to say this is what we're gonna do, everything will be judged on a case by case basis. It's like if there's a teacher and you know they're high risk and they're in that vulnerable part, what are we gonna do with them? It's case by case. We surely can't make somebody come in and force someone to work who cannot. So we'll be looking at everything on a case by case basis.
But what about the parents of the student? What if they can't, if they have to go to work? I mean, are we providing still for kids who don't have access to internet? We still doing the packet thing, or
We
how does that?
well, one of the things, and we're hoping to be, Mr. Connor, he's behind the camera, but one of the things that we talked about is the fact that we want to be able to get internet access to everyone.
Right,
So even if that access were to be a hotspot on a bus from 9 to 1, we want to be able to get you internet
how
access.
would you do that? If the hotspot is on the bus,
Mhm.
so you go into the
Go
neighborhood
into the neighborhood
and
it'll
let,
project.
allow, okay.
One thing I think we've got to look at too is like, and I think you said this earlier, was getting the hotspots and getting them to, possibly to some of the homes.
Yeah.
Because you have transportation issues too. Some people have transportation issues, even getting to the buses. So if we're getting them the Chromebooks and we're giving those in the homes, so we're gonna have to somehow look at getting hotspots to the homes too. Because the parents who are working and don't have transportation, they can't get there from 9 to 1, because those parents are at work.
Right.
So some kids are gonna have to be on at night or in the evening when parents get off at 5 o'clock. That's gonna be when they have to have access to a computer, have to have internet access. It's gonna have to be at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, because their parent is working first shift, and they can't get off until 3 or 4. So they don't have access to be able to get to the bus
True.
at 1 o'clock. So they can't get to the bus till 5 o'clock. So they need internet access then. So, so it's gonna be, like you said, case by case.
Case by case.
So it's gonna be different scenarios that we've got with a lot of kids. And in that situation, I think we're gonna have to look at some hotspots. I don't know if we've, explored the avenues of
Yes.
the cellular services or wherever for the hotspots, but I think we're gonna have to look at that as well as the bus. I think the bus worked well in the spring, because I heard a lot of good things about that. But I also think those people who have transportation issues and can't get to those spots, and parents, like you said, who working and getting home in the evening, we're gonna have to look at those as well.
And we will have our schools as hotspots as well. So if you do
And
have
that's in the
transportation
evening.
That's good.
in the evening, you can come sit in the parking lot at Warren
And get
County
on.
Middle School and be able to access the internet, you know, probably up to about 9 o'clock p.m. And the only reason that we have to set parameters on it is
Yeah.
because we don't want somebody sitting in the parking lot at
Of
1
course.
o'clock in the morning gaming
Of
off our
course.
internet service.
Right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk a little louder, Linda.
I will. You mentioned that, about the vaccine, and, do you know for sure when that vaccine is coming out, or?
Nobody.
Nobody.
No
knows.
one. $1,000,000
Yeah.
question.
What I'm hearing is that it's sometime next year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
I think everybody
I'm
is.
also hearing that it is being tested in other places to see if it's gonna work. So that's why I was asking the question, did you know something different?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I have a question. The virtual academy, sometimes they're set up where students have a certain time they have to go online and for this instruction. So are you saying they can come on any time?
That is the goal.
It depends on, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
And another question, will any student can apply to this virtual academy? For example, students that live in another county,
These will be our students in Warren County.
this is just open to Warren
Yes,
County
so
students?
our virtual school is for Warren County.
Yeah, because I know some counties are taking in other counties.
But these are just our
If they-
residents.
If they would like to enroll in Warren County schools,
We'll take it. We'll take it.
So if a student transfer.
That's right, it's a student transfer, and that would help in our ADM.
It would help.
Absolutely.
That's a good point, because we take them, we welcome them.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
It's a recruitment tool.
yep, it is.
So would any of this remote learning entail like a certain time for a student to be online where their teacher as well as other classmates would be on at the same time and they would serve a literal virtual classroom? I do know that some schools are doing that. Would that be part of this, where the student would have an opportunity to, you know, converse with the teacher back and forth in real time as well as classmates?
Yes.
And-
What we don't want to do is penalize students if they cannot get on that.
That's right.
Exactly.
So yes, ma'am.
That's
There will be
right.
times, for lack of a better term, and to paint a picture for you, it will kind of be like the professor at college having office hours and working, you know, being in the office from 9 to 11 and classes going on at that time and answering questions in live. But remember, by using the LMS, we can record sessions. So if I'm a
Yeah, I
student
know
and I
you
can't get on until 6 in the evening,
I go
I
back
can
and
go
watch.
back and look at the recorded session.
Nice.
I can look at my video that my teacher put up
Yep,
to help explain it. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of nuances to this that will really help us improve instruction. And to be honest with you, across the country, when the governor, across the state I should say, when the governor made that announcement on March the 14th, everybody started scrambling. Now we've had time to sit down and to think this thing through
Yeah.
and to make it better.
Yep.
So this will be a quality online experience for our children.
Well, that's why I was asking, because I know one school did that, and I'm looking through the lens of the child who really liked that opportunity because it made them feel connected to school. They were in real time with their instructor as well as their classmates, and they had to be there at a certain time. So I think that's what a lot of people miss is, you know, everything just being virtual and having the actual opportunity to collaborate with classmates and teachers in real time. So anyway, that's it.
I'm sorry.
And I just want to add, because I do have a student, a child in Warren County Schools, so in addition to some of the things Mr. Stewart was saying, the teachers are also required to reach out to the parent and the student
That's what
at
I
least
was
twice a week. So I was getting phone calls on my cell phone from the various teachers, and my son was also getting phone calls, so it wasn't just a matter of saying you're online and you logged in, but now as a teacher, I'm following up with that individual student, and they also have to keep a running log of a documentation of all of the students that they reached out to and the support that they provided. And so, and that was something that I know I personally received, and that was something that occurred.
I
So
think
that's the accountability piece.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask about, the accountability piece. How are we gonna take attendance? Because I know you're saying that the teachers check in twice a week, but how do we get the attendance taken? So the kids, I know they can log in, and how will we monitor?
We
If
are
that kid-
looking at, and with Mr. Connor, we're looking at a single sign-in log on for things with the Chromebooks, so that when that child logs in, part of this LMS is that we will be able to tell when you log on, how long you logged on, what you were doing.
And you can pull a report for that
Pull the
kid's
report.
name, and you can say that that kid checked in today,
That's right.
yesterday, and so on.
Andre Stewart logged in, he worked on 10th grade ELA
Yeah.
for this amount of time, he worked on biology for this amount of time, and I just can't log in and go to YouTube.
Right, that's what I was
and get
wondering.
credit. Yes, the
Because-
single sign-in log on should be able to track
And what they
me,
work on.
what I did,
The
yes.
sites
Okay.
that they went to.
And then the other question is, how are we going to monitor, like, work plans for teachers? How is that gonna happen?
Teachers will have a platform that they're supposed to enter, lesson plans into,
Okay,
so
It's
lesson plans
already-
will still be due.
And it's already set up.
It's already set up, it's, ready to go, so. And district-wide, we're gonna become uniform. So
That's
all of
good.
our schools will be doing the same thing.
now,
So that was the purpose for the committee. And the committee, there's a portal that we will be releasing, and this plan will be uploaded under operations in the committee. And what you'll do at the bottom, because it's PDF, you can click on the tabs that says child nutrition, EC, administration, maintenance, transportation, all of them will be there, and you can look at their portions of the plan.
and we'll do the same thing for staff check-ins.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And principals did a great job of holding staff meetings, virtually, and checking in to make sure that their staff, not just business, but they also did wellness. So social emotional is also gonna be a
right,
part of this.
right, that's good,
Yes.
thank you.
And, just a comment, I think it's good that you're having the, being on the radio to answer questions for the community, because there's a misunderstandings out there. Because parents think, well, my child can't be on the computer for 8 hours.
No.
So, and, this is what they're thinking, so that's good, you can, they can ask questions and you can give them the answers, because they need to know exactly what you're presenting,
Yes, sir.
For them.
And what are the hours? What are the clock hours? Are we requiring them 20 hours a week? What? Do we have anything?
So once the board makes the decision, then we can work all those logistics
Right.
out.
Because the committee actually meets every Wednesday.
Okay,
So according to the board's decision tonight, we will iron out things tomorrow.
But I would also say best practice, for those that had Chromebooks, students weren't sitting on computers for 8 hours.
no,
But there was a schedule that was created
okay,
to ensure that,
they walk
they
on.
still received their instruction.
Okay. All right, so this is, this presentation calls for a motion. So, the decision and how we're gonna move forward.
I have just one more question. So the Chromebook goes home, and so much of the learning is predicated on that Chromebook, having access to that Chromebook. What happens if something happens to the Chromebook? How is the student held responsible for learning if, especially the younger kids, they have no control over the Chromebook and they don't have a Chromebook anymore?
We have, there's a long answer and a short answer.
Okay.
We are purchasing Chromebooks, one for each student that can go home and stay at home. We also have some schools that have Chromebooks on campus. So if we needed a ready replacement, we could possibly replace that Chromebook. Also, we are attaching a small fee for Chromebooks. So if we get a busted screen or something like that, that's something that we can take out of the fee pot, fix that and get it back to the student.
What's the fee
That's
for
nice.
each student's Chromebook?
$20.
For the year, which is a very nominal fee.
Churches might have to ante up.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah,
Fair
I do. I think that's reasonable.
No, I think it is too. I just still might be beyond someone's reach.
So let me just hear the pleasure of the board members. So let's just talk about, we'll start with you, Ms. Long. What are your feelings? You're playing A, B, or C? Dialogue.
I like the plan that we're going with,
So this is the plan C?
Plan C.
Okay. C, Linda, Victoria?
And I'm just being clear, we're voting on this tonight, and then we push this out as of
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to be
Yes, we have
clear,
to.
so
And
there's
all-
no
and-
turning back.
And all, well, you can
Well, we
turn
got-
back, but I mean, the goal is that at least we start first quarter with
Yeah.
remote learning. And then
Right.
based
Those
on
3
the
months.
numbers,
Just being
we make
clear.
the adjustments
makes
to
sense.
Plan B.
Right.
But based upon where we are right now, the recommendation is
I want to look
Plan
up the
C.
Plan
date for
C.
first
I mean,
quarter.
there's some people that are saying go first semester,
that.
and that's something that we
should be
talked
somewhere in here,
about.
Cause we already approved this calendar, right?
You
Yeah, I
know,
see it.
Give us
Okay.
1 second.
I see it.
I mean, one thing we talked about was, would it be first quarter or first semester? And so the beauty of it is, if you do first quarter based on the numbers, then people know, at least understand based upon where we are, we can extend it. But then we don't necessarily wanna say first
Right.
semester and then have to pull back.
Come back.
And so part of it, so the goal was to at least say first quarter and then extend it as we go along.
That makes sense.
Based upon similar to like what the governor is doing with the
Right.
phase.
Is it a
He
Exactly.
didn't do it for the whole year, he
it
just is
the
doing
first
it like
6 weeks
3
or second-
weeks,
I see
a month
grading
at a
period,
time.
6 weeks.
Exactly.
The 6 weeks is like,
What's your question now, Tim?
She was asking about the,
is it according to the
9
grading
weeks.
period? Oh, is it 9 weeks? Okay, I see the end of the first 6 weeks is September 24th. So it's 9 weeks, is the grading, it's a quarter? So 9 weeks.
So, yeah, so we
Yeah,
have the quarter.
Okay, so let's see.
So,
1, 2, 3.
Every
Okay,
6,
so we're talking October 9th.
Yep, right
About
about that.
October 9th.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if by chance we get a vaccine tomorrow, we can just
we can make the adjustments,
Hmm.
yes, ma'am.
readjust.
But then our
Okay.
proposal is whatever the board makes the recommendation to approve, that if you all were to accept Plan C,
Mhm.
we would do due diligence in coming back, you know, in September to plan for the continuation in
steps.
October, and not wait till October.
right.
And it would be based upon the
Because the
numbers
board meets second
of
Tuesday,
where
right?
we are at the current
So we
time,
meet on the 13th.
and the status.
Okay.
Yeah,
And currently, we're still in phase 2.
right.
This governor did not move us from phase
That's right.
2. We're still in phase 2.
That's right.
And so there are a lot of things that you're not even able to do, even in phase 2, other than, you know, it's very limited.
So Victoria, again, I don't know if I cut you off or we.
No, I'm just trying to understand this fully. So Virtual Academy is different than Plan C.
If you were to approve Plan C, everyone really would be in the virtual academy.
Okay. So if I chose Virtual Academy, I'm not necessarily committed to that to say like for half a year or a year or
No.
whatever.
No.
I could, in school,
If
things
school
change.
opens up at normal, you can opt out.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
No-
I know in
nothing-
some school systems, once you're deciding that Virtual
You're
Academy,
locked in.
you're locked into
No.
it. Okay, I just want to be clear.
He said you were not, yeah. Even with transportation, you said, right?
That's correct.
You said just give you
Transportation was
9
weeks as
nine
well.
weeks.
Everything was quarters.
Right.
Right.
So
And
that's
that would be
fair.
under Plan B,
Yeah.
though.
And I think that's fair because you guys do
Mhm.
have to plan ahead for the transportation,
Mhm.
so
Yes, ma'am.
that makes sense. Does that
That
make sense?
cost would be
Yeah, so,
crazy.
but if
Yeah,
I were a
I can't
senior, I
compress.
could
I just
possibly
can't
take
even
Virtual
imagine
Academy and get
where
my
we would
credits
find
done
that
and be
money
done
from.
in December and not have to deal with, I know that's, you know. So would we offer Virtual Academy?
Say that again then, if you were a senior.
Well, if you were taking your coursework online and everything was virtual, and let's say you were a senior, it would be possible for you to finish your coursework. Because a lot of students do that in December. I mean, I could see if I were a senior, I'd wanna just go ahead and be done with my curriculum by December. So I can't opt to do Virtual Academy if we have Plan C.
Plan C is Virtual
Yeah, Plan C
Academy.
is a
That is the
virtual
remote
Okay, well,
learning.
I
okay.
understand what Victoria's saying. So can
Yeah.
I do Virtual Academy, not Plan C, Virtual Academy, and go on and finish all of my coursework and be finished school as a senior in December? You know how some kids can graduate?
It's the offering. So it's not like we're uploading everything for that
Right.
senior right
Right.
now in August.
Okay, that's
So
what I'm,
you're gonna get courses from
Mhm.
August to December, and then you're gonna get another set of courses from January to May,
Mhm.
as a senior. So it's not like you can get everything up front.
Okay.
It's not like a self-study where you do it on
Correct.
your
Yeah, the
own.
self-paced.
Okay.
It's a self-paced, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And
It's
I
not
also
like-
want to also add, Vance Granville Community College is doing virtual
They're virtual as
academy.
Are they?
Yes, for our early college, students.
Yes.
They are doing virtual academy.
Any other questions? Are you,
I'm done. No, I think I'm done. I mean, it's a big, we're making a big decision for
It is.
families.
about you, Ms. Sands, what are your thoughts?
Totally see, whatever we choose and whatever this is.
The
Yeah,
recommendation?
see, yeah, recommendation is, to go and come back before the,
Within the
October
quarter?
date and decide what we're gonna do the rest of the semester. Yeah.
So it
totally.
appears the majority of us, and Victoria, you still have questions, any discussion?
No, I was just looking for clarification. I just want to make sure I don't look back and say, oh.
And we don't wanna move too fast, so that's why I'm
That's right.
asking. We want everybody to be happy with where we are, because we are one board.
Mhm.
And so we wanna make sure, I think we should make sure that all questions are answered, there's no gray areas,
Mhm.
because it is a big decision. But I would say that if I had a child, and I don't have any children, but I do have stepchildren, and I don't want my stepchildren to go to school right now, because I don't think it's safe.
Right.
And so I would just say, I would go with the recommendation C, because I think it's the best way to be safe, and, Lord forbid, we would get to a situation where we bring a kid in that's a small kid, and unfortunately, something happens and we have to deal with that issue. And that would crush us, it would crush us, so.
A child or an adult.
Or an adult, true.
And think about an adult.
Anybody, you're right.
Think about something happening with an adult and the effect it would have
I
on
know.
children.
I know. So you have to think about that, and we have to be safe, and then you have to think about the staff who come in, and they're gonna come in regardless if they have to, and they're putting themselves at risk, and you don't wanna put anybody at risk if we don't have to.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's my thought.
So one last thing, would you say that, and I think I know the answer, but I would just want to hear it from you, that Plan C really reflects the information gathered through the data
Survey.
collection?
Mhm.
That's,
I think
yeah,
that's good.
that's what's important.
That's our constituency, those that have reached out to us
Mhm.
and answered our
Okay.
survey questions,
Yeah.
this is what they're
That's
saying.
what they're saying.
I think so too.
Then I think that's,
What about feeding programs?
I wanted that in the minutes.
Cleaning.
Feeding.
Feeding.
Oh, feeding.
Feeding.
So right now, the state has allowed, for child nutrition to continue in its current capacity through the 31st of August. So we have 3 feeding sites, they feed 5 days a week. We also have some drivers that go to individuals that cannot make it to a feeding site. And this is what we've been doing since March 16th.
You said through the 31st
Mhm.
of August.
Yes.
What happens after that?
The state will give us guidelines on what we need to do. But what I found out last Monday in a webinar was regardless of what plan, we were still gonna have to have grab and go and delivery of food. So it appears that we're just gonna continue the way we're going right now.
So, quick question with that, I appreciate Ms. Long bringing that up. What happens with the people who are transportation drivers? Will they be able to work? Because with the plan that we have now, we are not running buses, people are out of work, and they've been pushed towards getting unemployment. According to what we're reading now, unemployment ends July. They may or may not extend, we don't know. We don't wanna lose our bus drivers if we can prevent them. Could we possibly move to a situation where we transport meals and drop off?
We will look at that. First of all, we have to look at and see if the state is going to fund.
Right,
Bus
that's key, that's
So
true.
that's the first piece of that. If the state funds them, then they're taken care of.
If they
We
don't,
will also probably need a few of them anyway as drivers as the year comes in, because some of our drivers currently are teachers. So they will be moving into teaching positions and be unable to drive because they'll have to hold their hours in their classes during the day. So there will be a possibility to have some drivers in there. Right now, I think we currently have 5 drivers that come out of Warren County High School that deliver all over the county.
Okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I'm not mistaken, they deliver about 150 meals a day
Wow.
They do.
to families who don't have transportation. So we're meeting the
Yes.
needs of those that don't have
Yes.
transportation.
That's good.
And that's been since March.
March 6th.
A lot of those drivers are, they have a job, and they just drive the bus part-time. I mean.
Yes, ma'am.
That's just, yeah. Because a lot of them just wait for them to get off work.
Madam Chair, I have a question about I sent you a link regarding meals for, the school district that I shared with you. And I was wondering if you had an opportunity to check that out.
I know we currently have a meals program that we have to follow under the FDA.
We do.
And so I wasn't minimizing the information that you provided, but there's certain regulations that we have to follow under FDA in order to get paid. And so a part of it was just saying that the guidelines that we have to follow may not have been the guidelines that were in the article in the source.
So your answer is no?
No. And it's not because your article wasn't fine. It was, we have to make sure that because sometimes people will present information and provide information as sources, but North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, they have their own bank. So similar to like curriculum, we couldn't go out and just buy any old curriculum. We had to buy curriculum that was on their approved list, similar to like FDA. And for food services, we have to go through their vendors. We have to use their people. And so I'm not minimizing their system. So I'm not minimizing the information you provided. I'm just saying that if it's not in alignment with what has been spelled out by the Department of Public Instruction, we're not able to use it. Even though it may be a good idea, it still has to go through certain approval processes.
Okay, so this was from another school district in another state. And from what my understanding was that it was also for Medicaid families, and that the boxes of food would go to their home for a week.
Oh, wow.
Versus on a daily basis. So that's why I was asking.
No, I understand. And I go back to, because of the way the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction has it set up, there's certain processes that we can and cannot follow. So currently what we do is we send home meals on Friday, and the meals that are set up that the state pays for is when we send home meals on Friday for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's what the state in North Carolina has approved us to do. They've not, at this time, approved us to send home food for similar to like others. And like I said, different states have different setups, the way that they do and how they reimburse. And our goal is, although we want to be innovative, we also want to make sure that we get paid for the funds, for the food that we purchase. And so we have to follow.
So there's not a possibility that you would get paid using that particular, because we do have low-income families.
I understand, and it just depends. Each state has set up their own protocol for how they decide.
So can you share that information? You and Stuart, y'all share it and look at it and just bring us some feedback, because she did present it to you. So I know you have stipulations, but take a look at it. You guys go over it and then share with us.
No, that's no
Because
problem.
you're asking if we can do it, and it's Medicaid, and it could be resources that we have not tapped into. We don't know, it could not be. But just
Okay.
take a look,
Thank
if you will, please.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
we'll follow up, Ms. Cox, if you make
Thank
note
you.
of that. Thank you.
I appreciate that. So, call for a motion, I think, if we're ready.
Can you read, say the amount of time that the plan is for, so we include that in the minutes correctly, for the first 90 days? You said quarter?
Yes, ma'am. For the first quarter of the school year, which would expire on October 9th.
So it's a recommendation that the board would adopt Plan C for the district for first quarter. And then based on the numbers, make the necessary adjustments for Plan B or C.
Exactly.
Yep.
I make the motion that we adopt, Plan C with the recommendation that we will look at the numbers at that time to see if we would either end on October 9th or extend it, depending on the numbers.
Second?
Okay, thank you. Motion has been made and properly second that we approve the school district reentry plan, first quarter ending on October 9th and may be extended. May we vote, please?
Plan C.
Plan C. All in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, all in favor? All of us are in favor. Motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
And I appreciate you taking the time and answering all of our questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, board members, because that was a lot, but it was a big decision. And we want to do what's best for the district. So, moving right along, the board chair announcements, July 28th, 2019, board work sessions, business meeting, is 6 o'clock at the Warren County Middle School. Well, we can discuss, or you guys can share later, but will we come back here? I know we hadn't really said. Or will we go virtual back to virtual? Because we did this because we thought it was so important that we bring you guys on and you guys experience with your families and stuff like that. But how do we feel, or could we possibly switch swap? Could we go be in session maybe on Tuesdays, our regular board meetings, and then go work sessions at home? I'm asking.
I'm not feeling strongly one way or the other, so I'm waiting for someone who feels strongly.
I feel strongly
Which way?
that we continue what we're doing.
Both sessions?
Yes.
I would ask, and the reason why I would ask if we could consider maybe doing the regular board session, I'm asking, here, and then let us do the work session there. And the only reason why I would say, and I don't know Sims and Long's work schedules, but I do work a lot. And being that I'm working from home, it's like, you know, it's like one Zoom or one, I can come if the majority says we need to come for both. But if we could possibly, because sometimes work sessions, we want to take the time and really spend time. And I think the last work session we had, we ended at about what time? 10?
Oh, the
10-ish?
last one? Oh, 10:30?
And I was happy that we were at home.
And I'm glad I'm
And
behind
then we would
these
still be
masks.
able to, but I'll be flexible. I can still come, I'm just asking if we could possibly. How do you guys feel? You said you're flexible, Victoria.
No, I didn't say I was flexible, I said I feel strongly, but I
Strongly,
do
huh?
feel strongly that if we don't meet in person, the reason we don't meet in person is because of COVID-19. I think otherwise we owe it to meet as a, in
As a
person.
board.
Yes. That's the way
What
it's
are you-
been.
What are you saying?
That the reason we wouldn't meet in person is because of COVID-19.
And that's what's going on right now. So that would be a reason.
Well,
You mean if it got worse?
yeah, as opposed to wanting to be at home. If that makes
Well,
sense?
no, I don't
Am
think I was
making
saying
sense?
that. I think what I'm saying is the last board meeting we had, which was the work session, I was just sharing, because you guys were not a part of it, that it was a little bit longer, and sometimes work sessions are what they are. It's time for us to work. Take time and dissect policies and take time and sometimes, you know, we want to take, if we were in here, and you guys know we've been here, people have rushed processes because it was time, the time. And I don't want to rush through anything, especially we got new folk coming on. We want to make sure, and I don't have a problem with being here until 10, 11. But what I am saying is I was given the option to be flexible, that we could do one in and one out, or one in the middle school and one at home.
Tell me
But
the difference in the two meetings.
So this is your regular board meeting, and typically we have a work session. It's usually with policies, what takes time to read thoroughly through different things, and people have questions or concerns. Or if we have,
And that's when, and the work session is?
that's the work
fourth-
session.
That's the fourth Tuesday?
Yes.
Fourth Tuesday, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So one's the second Tuesday, one's the fourth Tuesday. So you're just saying one be here, second Tuesday be here, and the fourth Tuesday
At
be
home.
virtual?
Attorney May, do you see any problem with that?
Not right now.
Yeah.
What's your thinking, Attorney May?
No, if COVID is a concern
Why would we be here?
In school right now, and every board meeting we attend, we will be sitting in the middle of the school that has to be sanitized. And
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do
We will have to
to this place
sanitize
when
each
we leave
time.
and what it costs and the man hours involved and the individuals that have to come through and be where we are and touch what we touch.
Good point.
If the schools aren't safe for the kids, I don't know how it's safe for us.
And that's why I was trying to be a little flexible. I do think we need to have presence. I do think the community needs to know that we are working and we are here and we are visible, you know, we're there for them. And, but, you know, it's challenging times. And so we don't wanna I don't wanna put anybody, we don't wanna put anybody in harm's way, so we wanna do what's best for everybody. That's why I was asking if we could possibly be flexible. So, but I don't have a problem with going with the majority.
Ms. Sims, what are your thoughts? I see it, you thinking.
Like I said, I can be flexible. I probably, because I'm new and just starting, the presence of being in person would probably be good for me. But I can do whatever the majority says. I'm fine. Yeah.
Ms. Long?
I actually prefer the in-person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then, it's settled, then we will do both meetings here. Is that okay? And I was just asking in the midst of, we don't have to vote on it, we was just getting some consensus. So I'm okay with doing both meetings here, so we'll make the accommodations to do so. All right, so then August 11th, and thank everybody, thank you. August 11th, 2019, the regular board meeting will be at 6 p.m. and it'll be at the Warren County Middle School. Did I do them all, Debbie? All right, that's all of my announcements, and I will now turn it over to Dr. Young.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair and Vice Chair, our new Vice Chair, our returning Chair.
Good evening.
And our Vice Chair, our new Vice Chair, and also our new board members.
Yes.
I'm not, the goal is, and I know it's 8:42, and I know sometimes I feel like I rush when I get to this point, but I just wanted to just take the time just to highlight the employees, and that's really what I'm doing, because schools are closed.
Yeah.
And so what I'm highlighting is, I'm highlighting the accomplishments. And so, as you all are aware, on July 23rd at 1, Mr. Stewart and I will be on War Radio. We'll be doing a series on education. The goal is not to speak too fast as well. But I also want to highlight two employees. One is Mr. Derek Fogg. Mr. Derek Fogg, he won the North Carolina Central CIMC, which is the CT Curriculum and Instructional Management Coordinator of the Year for our North Central region. And he will be going to the state to compete. And so let's wish him warm thoughts.
Congratulations.
And that, you know, he will represent us in the state level as a CTE coordinator. In addition, I also want to give a kudos to Ms. Aguilar. And Ms. Aguilar, she received a prestigious certification for Google certification. And I will say, not to put Mr. Connor on the spot, but I believe Mr. Connor is she is one of a handful of people. I think Mr. Connor is the only other person in the entire district in Ms. Buffalo that has Google certification. So it's a very prestigious award. And this teacher took the time on her own to go and become Google certified. And so she's one of 3 employees in the entire district. And so we're happy because this also adds to our ability to be able to enhance our technology program. And just for the next couple slides, I just want to be able to just go over our Teachers of the Year. So at Marion Boyd, our Teacher of the Year is Ms. Blair Brantley, and she is a kindergarten teacher at Marion Boyd. Our Teacher of the Year at Vaughn Elementary is Mr. Oscar Vega, and he's a Spanish teacher at Vaughn. Our Teacher of the Year at Northside, we have Ms. Aguilar, so you can see that she's still doing some wonderful things, is being noted twice. At Warren County Middle School, our Teacher of the Year is Shamira Winter.
All right.
At Warren County High School, our Teacher of the Year is Ms. Masters Brackford.
All right.
Our Teacher of the Year at Warren Early College is Ms. Hahn.
Ms. Hahn.
And our Teacher of the Year at Warren Early at New Tech is Mr. Farrell. And what will happen is these teachers will be interviewed, and based upon the interview, then that will determine our teacher of the year. And then finally, our two top principal finalists are Ms. Dunbar and Ms. Judkins. And they will also be announced when the teacher of the year is announced. The principal of the year will also be announced. And these are our culminating events of what we do as a district and honoring our employees. The other thing I will also add is starting next year, I've asked Ms. Dr. Whitaker to do in addition to our certified, I've asked her to do classified staff. So next year, we will have honor, where we will have our top classified staff, because once again, the goal was to try to find a way to be able to acknowledge them. And so moving forward for next year, we will have that. So you'll have certified and classified staff, because we have some wonderful bus drivers as well as custodians that do wonderful work. And we want to be able, cafeteria, and we want to be able to take the time to honor them even in our, you know, events that we have. Thank you, and functions that we have.
That's good.
Did I miss the high school, or did they not have one?
The high school was, I believe, was Ms. Bradford. Ms.
They had
Braxford.
Okay. Maybe it was just somebody I didn't know.
Ms. Braxford.
Okay.
I don't know her either.
Okay.
Yes. And that is the submission of the superintendent's updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Young. We really appreciate all that the district and you are doing to make this happen virtually. So thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, I call for a motion to convene into closed session, and I'm asking that once we do the motion, can we take about a 5-minute break and then come back?
Please.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Call for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we convene, make a motion to convene in closed session.
Thank you.
Well, we need the reason.
And Victoria's gonna help you with the reason.
Use your thing, 1 or 6, read 1 or 6 on your cheat sheet.
Oh, on your pad. I'm sorry, we didn't tell you. I apologize. Just read the one. Just read number 1. Confidential privilege.
I make a motion to enter closed session to consider matters related to.
1 or 6. 6.
6, okay. Confidential privilege information. Confidential student matters, including student transfer requests allowed under General Statute 143-318.11A1. And personnel qualifications, competence, performance, character, or fitness as allowed under General Statute 143-318.11A6.
Excellent. And who second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. May we vote, please, by raising our hand? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll take about a 5-minute break.